subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Build too many. If you want to build ordinary homies, just plunder the souls of those pirates or marines. Or if you need to use your own soul temporarily to build other special homies. At worst, you can just take your soul back after using it up. Try not to waste your own soul foolishly. That's equivalent to shortening your life. Although the lifespan of the giants is very long, there's no need to worry too much, but you still need to restrain yourself. Too strong power will always make people indulge in it. What if Gerd is addicted to Krypton life? That would be bad. Yeah, I know. Holding Ai air happily. Gerd, who was very excited, squinted his crescent eyes and nodded seriously. Don't worry, Ai air, I won't mess around. But I'm going to create another thundercloud as a gift for Linlin. Gerd thought of something and said directly, because it was Linlin who gave me such a great ability of the soul fruit. I want to thank her. Although she had also seen Helding's ability. If nothing unexpected happened, it would be her ability to obtain the dice fruit. But in the final analysis, the performance of the dice fruit is too simple. Relatively speaking, it is obviously more interesting and more powerful to give life to all things. Therefore, Gerd is very grateful to Linlin for giving him the soul fruit. Okay, that's not bad. Ai Air smiled slightly, gently pinched Gerd's pretty face. It is naturally a good thing that the two little girls have such a close relationship. Boom! In a blink of an eye, the sky was thundering again. A dark cloud with a devil-like face appeared. It soon shrank into a yellowish, feminine thundercloud with fluffy hair. Named Hera by Gerd. Boom, master, I'm Thundercloud Hera flew up and stuck to Gerd very closely. Hello, Hera. I'm Zeus. From now on, we're partners. Thundercloud Zeus, who was a little silly, couldn't help but shine with his eyes, carrying Gerd and Ai Air, and said there, Hera, I'm Prometheus. I think we're more suitable partners. Son Prometheus, who followed up, also had a lot of heart in his eyes. While trying to please Thundercloud Hera, he couldn't wait to suggest to Gerd, Mr. Gerd, give Zeus to Mr. Linlin. Prometheus, you guy. Thundercloud Zeus glared at him, instantly turned into a demon-like posture. It became extremely black, interweaving with fascinating lightning. Humph, you want to fight, right? But Prometheus was not afraid of it at all. It was already irritable, and it also turned into a ferocious, blazing flame, staring at Thundercloud Zeus fiercely. Two top-level homies were confronting each other there. Two idiots, no way. I only listen to my master. Thundercloud Hera was very arrogant, ignored Thundercloud Zeus and son Prometheus. Ai Air's mouth twitched. Unexpectedly, these three top-level homies were just born. It turned out to be such a scene, two licking dogs plus a arrogant. That's not okay. You have to get along well. Gerd scolded there. Puff Lingling at this time. A huge vampire bat flew over. It turned into a human form there, and it was Linlin himself. She landed on the soft thundercloud, full of surprise, jumping and stepping on Zeus and looking at Thundercloud Hera. Is this the thundercloud? So magical. Linlin, you came just in time. Gerd pointed at Thundercloud Hera and said to Linlin, this is a gift from me to you. Give it to me? Really? Hearing that Gerd was going to give her a thundercloud, Linlin's eyes lit up, and she was a little surprised. Thank you so much, Gerd. As long as you like it. Seeing Linlin so happy. Gerd was also very happy and ordered Hera, you'll follow Linlin from now on. She is your master, understand? Yes, getting the order. Thundercloud Hera did not resist. On the contrary, it flew forward very docilely and greeted Linlin. Master Linlin, please give me more advice. Hello, Hera. Linlin was overjoyed. Jumped on Hera's body. Looking around, she sat on it, overjoyed. Although she could fly, she still felt more comfortable sitting on the thundercloud like cotton candy. Wow, so powerful. Is this the true power of the soul fruit? Incredible. Below, watching Helding in the sky, and the other children in the dream house. Witnessing the birth of the three great homies, they couldn't help but marvel. Woo-woo dash, but at this moment, on the sea in the distance, the desolate sound of the horn kept echoing. One after another, huge warships slowly went to the distance. On top, there were giants with fierce momentum and murderous intent. Moreover, there was more than one ship, but 10 or 8 ships. That is, Linlin was full of surprise, staring at the blurred ship in the distance with wide eyes. It's the war horn of Ai Erbafu. Looking at the huge warships setting sail, Gerd was also a little shocked. The giant army has begun to gather. Are they going to conquer a country? It seems that the angry giants are ready to launch a revenge against the world government after discovering that they have been deceived. Ai Er raised his eyebrows, a little surprised. He looked at the flagship of the giant pirates and smiled. It's just right. Let's join the fun too. Chapter 23. The Revenge Army of the Giants. Marine G. 12 branch. Woo-woo-woo in the sea. The huge horn sounded. One after another, warships of exaggerated size rushed towards the depths of the sea. The leader was the pirate ship of the giant pirates, the Great Eric. On it, the skull flag of the giant pirates fluttered in the wind. And the people on the other huge warships were not members of the giant pirates, but they were the giant warriors who responded to the call of the two former leaders of the giant pirates, Mountain Beard and Waterfall Beard. In total, there were at least hundreds of giant warriors in the entire fleet. Such combat power was enough to make the vast majority of countries in this sea tremble with fear. Giant warriors, a giant warrior of the giant pirates. He raised his right arm and shouted loudly. For the glory of God, Ai Erbafu, vent the anger of the giants to the despicable world government and marine, and let them feel the terror of the giants. Damn Carmelo, damn world government. These bastards dared to deceive us giants. Kill them. Send them to hell. Kill them all. One by one, the giant warriors with huge bodies and exaggerated muscles. All of them were holding various weapons high and shouting loudly. It was magnificent and murderous. The momentum was so great that the wind and clouds changed color. Who? Two thunderclouds flew over from afar. It was Ai Er, Linlin, Gerd, and others. Moreover, Helding was called. That is, a cloud like cotton candy and a facial mask? So strange. Ai Er, Helding, Gerd, Linlin. What are you doing here? Looking at those anthropomorphic clouds. Many giant warriors were surprised, but soon, some giant warriors in Ai Erbafu village recognized Ai Er and others. The leading members of the giant pirates, such as Redding, Cassie, and Oimo, looked at Ai Er, Linlin, Helding, and Gerd who had landed on the Great Eric and asked loudly, "So many giants." Linlin was full of surprise. She hadn't seen so many giants yet. Ai Er, take them back quickly. This is not a battle you should participate in. Holding a giant sword and wearing a samurai helmet, the tall Redding looked down at the few people, frowned, and said in a deep voice, "Teacher Redding, I am also a warrior of Ai Erbafu, and now I am more than 10 times stronger than before. So let me go too." Hayerding said loudly to his teacher with confidence, "It's okay, Redding. They're all demon fruit power with enough self-protection power. Let's go and see it." Ai Er explained to them there. How can a real warrior not see blood? Oh, Hayerding, have you also become a capable person? The giant warriors present were full of surprise. Yes, Ai Er boss gave me a devil fruit. Hayerding, who was afraid of being driven back, turned his hands into sharp blades and showed those giant warriors. My whole body can turn into blades, invulnerable to swords and guns. He waved his hands, and the cold light flashed. In an instant, he cut a wooden barrel and tore them into pieces. What a good ability! Seeing this, Redding exclaimed. Nodding to the others, he smiled and said, "Then you can join us. By the way, what are they?" Oimo pointed at Zeus, Hera, Prometheus, and other strange homies with anthropomorphic faces with curiosity. "These are homies. I created them with the power of the soul fruit," Gerd said proudly. "They are very powerful. Zeus, Hera, Prometheus, show them." She snapped her fingers. The three homies received the order. They instantly changed into combat forms. One by one, they showed devilish postures, some with blazing flames, some with lightning and thunder. The giant warriors present were shocked. Ka. Incredible abilities. It seems that some great helpers have come. They have seen the abilities of Helding and Gerd. Needless to say, Ai, I heard that Linlin is also a natural monster with great strength and invulnerability, and it is said that he is also a capable person. This is definitely a very powerful fighting force. By the way, Cassie, where are we going to conquer? Ai asked with a smile. After arriving at Ai Erbafu, he spent most of his time training. Either he practiced swordsmanship hard, wanting to master Ai Erbafu's unique skills as soon as possible, or he strengthened his body and trained his conqueror's Haki. Except for the island of Dreamland that is relatively close to Ai Erbafu, he really hasn't explored the surrounding islands. It's the G12 branch closest to Ai Erbafu, and we must completely destroy it. Cassie carried the battle axe and said viciously, "Let those world government lackeys in the marine know how powerful our giants are, and they are the existence that they cannot provoke. Then I'm looking forward to it." Ai chuckled. If he remembered correctly, the G-prefix Marine branch is directly under the naval headquarters. There should be a naval headquarters vice admiral guarding it, right? That's a good soul. It should be able to build a stronger homies. Enemy attack. Sailing on the sea is undoubtedly boring. After a day and a night of sailing, they finally approached their destination. Two cruising warships discovered the arrival of the Ai Erbafu fleet, and the Marines on them were full of tension and panic. They retreated at the first time and reported immediately. The giant fleet didn't mean to talk nonsense at all and chased out. They launched an attack without hesitation. They opened fire directly. Bang, bang, boom, boom. The artillery roared. One after another, huge shells bombarded those warships. Although those Marines were a little panicked, they were all well-trained New World elites after all. They also operated the ship's guns and launched a counterattack. The two sides continued to bombard each other there. Soon, a warship was directly hit and a raging fire was ignited. But the other warship reacted quickly. It was getting farther and farther away. No need to drag it out here, lest those Marines prepare and not give them too much time. Ai saw this. He stood up directly. He drew out the long sword on his waist. His eyes were fixed on the Marine warship at least several kilometers away. The sword tip was swung diagonally. Ai, this posture? Could it be? Seeing Ai's actions, the giant warriors present were all shocked. They opened their mouths wide and lost their voices in disbelief. Ai barfed spear. Ai's eyes were stern. The powerful observation Haki directly locked onto the warship several kilometers away. The momentum kept rising, and the sword tip carried unparalleled power, tearing the atmosphere brazenly. Towards the distant warship, it violently slashed out. Wagwa! Swish! The atmosphere was crushed. The terrifying cylindrical sword energy shock wave. It broke through the air directly, unstoppable and extremely fast. Boom, boom. In the blink of an eye, it hit the warship like lightning, completely tearing it apart and smashing it. It turned into countless fragments and scattered on the sea. Chapter 24, Ai's Fury, Thunderous Gurgle. Ai this guy. I remember he is less than 10 years old, right? He actually mastered the spear skills that Ai Erbafu is proud of. Witnessing this amazing scene, the giants present were all stunned, staring blankly at Ai who stood with his sword put away, his face not red and his breath not panting. His jaw almost dropped to the ground. Some were speechless. Oh, too amazing Ai. As expected of a natural warrior favored by the sun god. A group of giants from the giant soldier pirates were boiling with excitement. They directly surrounded Ai, lifted him up high, threw him into the air, and cheered there. Although their leader was not there, Ai undoubtedly replaced them at the moment. Mastered Ai Erbafu's spear at such a young age. The future is limitless. You are so amazing. Ai When can I also achieve this level? Seeing Ai Er's shocking performance, Linlin, Gerd, and Helding were full of admiration. Their eyes were burning, their fighting spirit was high, and they couldn't help but feel deeply proud. It seems that I have to change to a better sword. After finally getting rid of the giants, the somewhat embarrassed Ai Er pointed to the long sword at his waist and said with a smile, "If I launch the Ai Erbafu spear a few more times, this sword may be useless." Although there were no cracks on it, but he could feel that there was damage inside. This was originally his training sword, and it had been overwhelmed by the long-term and unremitting training of this natural monster, and the power that was still increasing day by day. "It's okay. I will forge a better one for you later." Ga Pa Pa Pa, a member of the giant soldier pirates who was holding a giant hammer with exaggerated muscles and a huge body, laughed. He was a famous swordsmith of Ai Erbafu. Even the weapons of the two leaders, Blue Ogre Dory and Red Ogre Broggy, were forged by him. If he could get enough materials, the large swords he forged would not be worse than those famous swords and Sword of Humans. "Then please," Ai Er said with a smile, "compared with samurai swords, rapiers, and so on, he really prefers to use double-edged swords with big openings and closings." Ai Er, who has a very high vision, is naturally not satisfied with ordinary swords. But now he is growing up, and his future size is bound to be even bigger. As a Lunaria tribe with a large body size, and with the blood of the giant tribe, his height is bound to exceed Charlotte Linlin, who is an upgraded human. There is no need to rush to get a special sword. Use ordinary swords to deal with it first. It doesn't matter. Beep beep dash. Enemy attack. The enemy is the giant pirates. All members enter the first level combat state. Marine G, 12 branch. The sharp alarm sounded continuously. A large number of Marine personnel began to gather continuously. Damn it, it's the fleet of the giants. They are the giant pirates. It's really the legendary ancient ship. Why? I remember that Marine almost publicly executed some of their members, but later, under the persuasion of the Virgin Mary, in order to ease the conflict with the giants, he let them go. Are those guys crazy? We Marines didn't provoke them, did we? Are those giants going to repay kindness with enmity? What's going on? Looking at the fleet on the sea, and the huge, murderous figures above. One by one, Marine couldn't help but change color, sweating coldly, and waiting there. The sky had unknowingly become dark and gloomy. There was a trend of storm coming. Those guys, are they crazy? The highest commander of the G-12 branch, Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Modi, looked at him with a dark face and was extremely angry. They actually attacked the Marine fortress without caring about anything. Seeing the flagship of the giant pirates, leading other giant warships, ignoring warnings and approaching. He gritted his teeth and ordered loudly, "Fire!" Bang! Bang! A large number of naval guns on the surrounding warships opened fire directly, and the large caliber coastal defense guns on the coast also spewed out flames one after another and kept pouring out shells. Bombarded the giant warships. Marine, on the Great Eric. Looking at those Marines, Ai Er's eyes were cold. The flames on the back of his head kept jumping and burning. Since he was born, he was hunted everywhere and kept fleeing, mostly because of the credit of these world government lackeys. At the beginning, in order to prevent the world government from desecrating his parents' bodies, he had to burn their bones into ashes with his own hands and sprinkle them into the sea. Roar! His body size continued to expand at an astonishing speed, transformed into a feathered serpent god hundreds of meters long, soared directly into the sky. What is that? Giant snake? Strange bird. Most likely some strange ability. Don't let it get close. Shoot it down. It flew into the sky, looking at the feathered serpent god that suddenly appeared on the ancient warship of the giants and flapped its wings to rush into the sky. Many Marines were shocked. Woohoo! The huge feathered serpent god. Rush into the dark clouds. Bathed in endless lightning, it kept circling there. A deafening roar echoed. Die, Marine. Thunderbolt. Boom. The sky. The sky was covered with dark clouds, lightning, and thunder. in the horrified eyes of Marine in the dark clouds. Thunderbolt, thunderbolt, dash. One after another terrifying thunderbolts bombarded the G-12 fortress. Boom, boom, ah. It was as if the sky was angry and the end of the world was coming. Countless lightnings bombarded from the black thunderclouds one after another, or struck the fortress buildings, or struck those Marines, or struck on the warships, or struck on those coastal defense guns. Boom! A large number of ammunitions were constantly detonated and exploded one after another. The flames shot up to the sky and the smoke billowed. It was indescribably shocking. Shave? Damn! What kind of monster is this? With the help of observation Haki's prediction, he narrowly dodged a lightning bolt. G-12 Base Commander Modi Vice Admiral's face changed drastically. He gritted his teeth and glared at the Quetzalcoatl in the sky, feeling even more panicked. Facing such a natural disaster-level monster, even if he, the Vice Admiral of the Naval Headquarters, boasted of his strength, was a little unsure. Not to mention the large number of giant warriors. Woo! At the same time, strong wind pressure. Blow up the sails on those warships. Let them rush towards the G-12 fortress at an astonishing speed. Call the wind and rain. Control the thunder. Is this Ai Air's true strength? Ai Air/Aonichan, it's amazing. So powerful. Even the giants were stunned when they saw such a scene. Even Linlin, Wielding, Gerd, and others who claimed to be familiar with Ai Air could not help but be deeply shocked. It was the first time they saw such a scene. Oh, Ai Air has opened the way for us. Everyone go. We can't let down the reputation of Ai Erbafu giant warriors. Kill these despicable Marines. Kill them all. A large number of giant warriors. The morale was high and excited. One after another, huge warships broke through the Marines' defense. Like wolves and tigers, they rushed up with murderous intent. Chapter 25. Soul Spell, Mass Killing. Charge. Kill all these Marines. Let those bastards of the world government know how powerful our giants are. The giants are coming. Everyone, fight them with all your strength. Damn giants, fight them. Everyone go. For justice. Bang. Bang. Boom. Boom. Ah. Soon, the aggressive giants rush directly onto the coast, waving their weapons. Destroy the ancients and kill the panicked Marines. Although these well-trained elite Marines soon met the invading enemies under the command of those Marine officers and colonels, they fought to the last. But facing these huge and powerful giant warriors, they were still killed and retreated step by step. If it were a few giants, they would naturally have no way to deal with it. They only needed to concentrate a large number of people to attack the lower body of these giants, making them lose balance, and with a large amount of firepower, they would have the hope of subduing them. But now, they're not facing 1 or 2 giants, nor 10 or 8 giants. Instead, there were hundreds of murderous giant warriors. Boom, boom. The huge figures were amazing. They ignored the rain of bullets, either resisted the artillery or dodged. They rushed into the fortress like a hot knife through butter, wielding huge swords, axes, hammers, maces. Like a group of hungry giant wolves, rushing into a flock of sheep, a large number of Marines screamed. Facing the powerful attack, they could not stop it at all. Let's go, Linlin, Wielding. They jumped onto the thundercloud Zeus. They were followed by the sun, Prometheus. Gerd, holding a long-handled giant axe, had a fiery fighting spirit in his eyes and said eagerly, "But don't kill all those guys first. I want to take their souls." Okay, Linlin smiled. Holding the blade, he jumped onto Hera. "I'll try my best." Wielding, who was also eager to fight, jumped onto Zeus. The 3 of them rode on 2 thunderclouds and split into 2 groups. They rushed to the fortress from the Great Eric. What is that? Are they children of a giants? Don't care if they're children or not. They are enemies anyway. This is a battlefield. Fire. Shoot them down. Bang. Bang. A group of Marines looked at the flying clouds and were somewhat shocked. Seeing Linlin, Gerd, Wielding, and other little giants flying on clouds with anthropomorphic facial makeup and like cotton candy, they were somewhat doubtful. But soon, Under the command of those officers, they launched attacks one after another, continuously firing at Linlin and Gerd. However, they were easily avoided by two swift and flexible thunderclouds. Bang, bang, clang, clang. After arriving above the fortress, Helding, who was eager to fight and couldn't wait, he jumped down from the thundercloud Zeus and rushed towards the Marines. His hands turned into blades, and his whole body became like steel, ignoring the rain of bullets. Chi, relying on the ability of the dice fruit. He rushed forward, swinging his blade continuously. He was already 18 years old, and although he was still a teenager, he was a giant. In addition, he had undergone rigorous training for many years, so his combat power was not bad. Marines rushed up one by one. He was constantly being directly chopped apart by his extraordinary strength, including people and weapons. Bloody. Really? You didn't plan to leave me alive at all? Gerd, who was standing on Zeus, saw this. She was eager to try, and she jumped off Zeus's back with a high fighting spirit, swinging her long-handled battle axe. At the same time, he ordered the thundercloud Zeus and the sun Prometheus above his head. Zeus, Prometheus, follow me. Yes, Master Gerd. In the shocked eyes of those Marines for a moment, lightning and thunder roared, and flames burned. Zeus and Prometheus both transformed into ferocious fighting forms, like demons, terrifying. Pillar of fire. Prometheus rushed out first. Suddenly, he spit out a huge column of fire towards the Marines who were rushing up. Thunder. Zeus was not to be outdone. He suddenly spit out a huge lightning bolt, which penetrated several Marines. They were electrified and charred. This guy, is she a demon? Looking at this horrifying scene, each Marine was filled with fear. Life or death. At this moment, Gerd's eyes were stern. He exuded an indescribable soul deterrence that made people tremble and feel fear, and activated the ability of the soul fruit. Soul spell. The souls visible to the naked eye permeated the bodies of these Marines, as if they were about to leave their bodies. What's going on? What is this? Gurgle. It feels like the soul is leaving. This giant girl is simply a monster. However, these Marines have not responded yet. The answer is overtime. Gerd smiled. Her left hand suddenly reached out, grabbed the souls that were floating toward her, and pulled them out suddenly. Marines screamed and fell directly there. Their souls were ruthlessly taken away, and they lost their breath of life. Their death was horrifying. Everyone is so awesome. I want to go too. Linlin jumped from Thundercloud Hera to the fortress. Looking at these Marines, she showed an innocent smile. Perhaps it was the influence of the mythical beast species vampire form. She had smelled the blood on the battlefield, but she didn't feel any discomfort at all, but was slightly excited. Bang, bang. Countless bullets came towards her. In a blink of an eye, facing Linglin's defense that was like a steel balloon, invulnerable to swords and guns. A large number of bullets that were squeezed and deformed were either bounced out or fell to the ground. What's going on? Is this guy invulnerable to swords and guns? Everyone, go and kill her. Marines were horrified, but he still gritted his teeth, raised his sword, and killed them. Don't care how many enemies there are, just go up and chop them. Recalling what Ai said to himself before he came to the Marine fortress. After the training in the past few days, Linlin, who at least knew how to fight, did not hesitate. He swung the big knife vigorously and chopped at those Marines fiercely. Clang. There was no accident. A large number of guns, swords and knives were directly torn and cut off. One by one, the Marines were directly chopped by the force, and they could not resist Linglin's exaggerated strength at all. Blood was dripping, and the broken body and limbs flew everywhere. It was horrible. Blood splashed on his face. He held the bloody blade in one hand and scratched his head stupidly. In the eyes of those Marines, Linglin's innocent smile was full of horror, like a demon. You are so weak. I didn't even use any strength. It's just a demon. This kid, she is a monster. The Marines around saw this. I couldn't help but feel a chill and screamed. Puff! In an instant, Linlin's body suddenly turned into a large number of vampire bats, rushing towards Marine in all directions. Scarlet eyes, full of bloodthirstiness, revealing ferocious fangs. Bang bang. Clang clang. Bats? Is she still a capable person? Damn it, these bats are like steel. I can't cut them at all. Help! Chapter 26. The Tragedy of Modi, Vice Admiral, The Power of Homies Bang Bang. Boom! Boom! The air was filled with gun smoke. In the unprecedented chaos of the fortress, the sound of gunfire, screams, and the sound of metal clashing continued. A large number of giant warriors continued to destroy everywhere. They killed those Marines crazily, without any intention of holding back. Help! This monster! What is this? Damn it, let me go! Plop, plop. A corner on the west side. A large number of vampire bats were flying there. They didn't care and pounced on the Marines at an astonishing speed. Bang bang. No matter how these Marines fired or chopped with swords and knives, they couldn't shake them. Even if they tried their best to block, the blades that chopped them continuously and sent them flying had shocking gaps. Plop, plop, accompanied by bursts of shrill screams. Mummies fell there one after another. All of them were Marines whose blood was sucked dry by those vampire bats. Hiss, Gulialu. Those bats. Did Linlin transform into this? What a scary guy. Not to mention the surviving Marines. Even the giant warriors. Seeing this terrifying scene, they couldn't help but feel a little numb and cold. They didn't expect that the human girl Ai took in was so scary. She was just like an evil god from hell. And the outstanding performance of Gerd and Helding also made the giant warriors look sideways, and some were shocked. Unexpectedly, these two young giants were so powerful with the power of devil fruit. I'm afraid they have surpassed most of their adult giant warriors. Linlin is too excited. Above the sky, the huge Quetzalcoatl hovered in the sky. Ai who was paying attention to the entire battlefield, was a little helpless. Linlin, don't mess around. Gerd saw this and reminded loudly. I still have souls to harvest. Looking at those mummies, even she was a little shocked. That means she and Linlin have a very close relationship. Otherwise, she might be scared by this little friend. Puff! A large number of bats gathered and turned into human forms. Linlin, with blood and a terrifying face, came to Gerd. Wiping the blood from the corner of her mouth, she scratched her head. Sorry, Gerd. I forgot when I was excited. It's okay, I have harvested a lot, Gerd said happily. She raised the long-handled axe and shook the bloodline on it. But I feel that the axe is not very suitable. I will change it to a big sickle later. With the ability of the soul fruit, she felt that it would be more convenient for her to harvest the souls of those enemies with a sickle. Really? Linlin tilted her head. He held the bloody blade on his shoulder and said, I think the broadsword is quite useful, but it's too light. Damn giant kid, go to hell. Just then, a figure with amazing momentum suddenly rushed out and rushed towards Linlin. He put his hands together. His 10 fingers-formed claws wrapped around Haki and blasted towards Linlin like lightning. Armament Haki, 10-finger pistol. Bang! The bullet-like 10-finger pistol. It blasted into Linlin's body and sank directly into it. But it didn't break through her steel balloon-like defense at all. Linlin, Gerd was caught off guard and was shocked. What? Modi Vice Admiral, who wanted to kill the enemy with one blow, couldn't help but widen his eyes. The 10-finger pistol, a skill he had honed and was proud of. With Haki wrapped around him, he was confident that he could tear through thick steel plates, but he couldn't break through the opponent's defense. And the opponent didn't have any defense before, let alone use Haki or Iron Body for defense. What kind of monster is this? Hey, uncle, it hurts a little. Linlin frowned. She looked at the ferocious man in a suit with big eyes and said unkindly, But you are all bad guys, right? Ai Erbafu said that his relatives and tribesmen were all killed by you Marine and world government. As she said that, she looked fierce and raised the blade directly. She was about to chop at the other party, a hole, but before she could do anything, Gerd, who reacted, had already swung the axe and chopped up. Shave. Modi Vice Admiral stepped hard and retreated like lightning. A flash of afterimage. The axe with cold light chopped nothing. After all, he was too young, and Gerd, who was swinging the axe hard, staggered and almost fell down. Tempest kick break. Modi Vice Admiral saw this. He swept out with his right foot fiercely. Swish! A huge crescent-shaped slash. It tore through the atmosphere and came through the air. It blasted towards Gerd and Linlin. Be careful. Linlin, Gerd, Cassie, Redding, Oimo, and others in the distance changed their expressions. But it was too late to rush up to stop them. Don't try to hurt Gerd. BD, in a flash of lightning. Elding, who was not far away, rushed up. Bang! Bang! His hands turned into blades and crossed to directly block the incoming slash. But he was lacking in strength and was shocked by the powerful impact. He took a few steps back. Go, Zeus, Hera, Prometheus, kill him. Gerd was full of anger. He shouted directly to the three homies. Yes, Lord Gerd, in the sky, including the thundercloud Hera that had been floating in the air. After receiving Gerd's order, the three homies responded in unison. Aho, you dare to sneak attack Lord Gerd. The flames were blazing. The devilish son, Prometheus, rushed up. The anthropomorphic face, full of anger, turned into a huge flame, dyeing the entire sky red, carrying a terrible high temperature, distorting the atmosphere, and crushing it fiercely. The Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral was horrified. He retreated violently. Boom, boom. A loud bang. A building was directly collapsed and burned. The flames shot up to the sky, and the heat waves rolled, shocking people. However, before Vice Admiral Modi, who barely avoided this attack, could breathe a sigh of relief. Immediately afterwards, the two thunderclouds of Zeus and Hera took action. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Two fierce lightnings, one on the left and one on the right, struck up with a force that was faster than thunder. Paper arts. He folded his body at an incredible angle and dodged the first lightning. But he failed to dodge the second one and was pierced by the lightning. Ah, Vice Admiral Modi screamed. His whole body was charred by the electricity. But at this moment, a round of extremely fierce, great fireball, carrying rolling heat waves, it appeared in the sky. Like a real sun, it illuminated the entire gloomy sky. That is, Gulu, the sun. Vice Admiral Modi, get out of the way, feeling the amazing heat wave coming towards him. All the Marines present were shocked. Even the giant warriors, such as Cassie and Oimo, opened their mouths in shock. Turned to ashes. The flames were blazing. The giant Prometheus was extremely fierce. Carrying unparalleled heat, it ruthlessly crushed Modi Vice Admiral, who was paralyzed by the electric shock and unable to move. Boom, boom. Ah, Chapter 27. Huge harvest. Angry Marine boom. Crackle. Vice Admiral Modi. Damn giants. Fight them. The flames were blazing. The whole area was reduced to ruins. These Marines screamed, each with despair and anger on their faces, and their morale was low. Some people rushed forward fearlessly. Crackle. Good job, Gerd. Damn Marine. Now you know how powerful we giants are? How dare you deceive us? Go to hell. But those giant warriors. The morale was high, and they were very excited. They didn't know what mercy was. They killed these Marines like cutting melons and vegetables. The battle was completely one-sided. Huh. Lord Gerd, I need to replenish the fire. Prometheus launched a fierce attack on the enemy. It continued to devour the remaining flames, a little listless, and flew in front of Gerd. Well done, Prometheus. Gerd praised. At the same time, he looked up at the two thunderclouds of Zeus and Hera and smiled. You did a good job, too. The three homies were all very happy to get Gerd's praise. She went directly to the ruins with flames rising to the sky. She saw Vice Admiral Modi, who was burned into Kurizumi, with only half a breath left and lost consciousness. She grabbed him and pulled out his soul. As for the soul spell, is the soul fruit so inconvenient? For this kind of target who has lost consciousness and has no power to resist, Gerd, the soul fruit ability user, can easily pull out the opponent's soul. There is no need to activate the soul spell. Swish! I don't know when. Ai Air has turned into a human form, flapped his wings from high altitude, and landed on the fortress. The powerful observation Haki locked a large number of Marines who were still alive. His eyes were stern, and he stomped his right foot suddenly. The tree world is coming. Boom! Boom! A large number of green seedlings broke out of the ground. At a speed visible to the naked eye, they turned into huge vines and crushed the Marines. They bound them one by one and threw them in front of Gerd. Gerd, I leave it to you. No problem. Gerd smiled, and Thundercloud Zeus and Sun Prometheus turned into extremely ferocious fighting forms. One on the left and one on the right, floating beside her, guarding this master. She, who was originally innocent and lovely, was set off like a demon from hell. These Marines who had just seen how terrifying these strange homies, anthropomorphic creatures were couldn't help but show fear on their faces. Life or death. The ability of the soul fruit was activated. The irresistible soul deterrence made their souls float out, almost leaving their bodies directly. These Marines were terrified. Some shouted life in fear, while others pretended to be calm and shouted death. But no matter what choice they made, as long as they showed the slightest fear, they would be mercilessly harvested by Gerd, who seemed to be the incarnation of Shinigami and was judging them there. Even some giant warriors saw this scene from afar and felt a little numb. Soon, with the help of Ai Erbafu, a large number of Marine survivors, whether intact, missing limbs, unconscious, seriously injured, and dying, were caught alive by the vines that seemed to have life consciousness. Gerd kept using the power of the soul fruit to seize the souls of these guys. He stored a large amount of soul power in his body for backup. At this moment, far in the front half of the Grand Line, the solemn and magnificent Naval Headquarters building, G-12 branch was attacked. In the Marshal's office, the current Marine Marshal who had just received the report changed his face, shocked and angry. Damn it, what on earth do those giants of Ai Erbafu want to do? Are they crazy? Hundreds of giants, the G-12 branch led by Modi, is obviously unable to stop them. Immediately let the nearby Marine bases go to support as soon as possible. Notify the hack Admiral guarding G-5 and let him rush over immediately. But the Marine Marshal naturally knew. The G-12 branch is too far away and cannot arrive in a short time. In terms of time, there is no time to support, facing the siege of so many giant warriors. When a Marine fleet arrives, the battle will be over. Yes, Dash just hung up the den mushy. An adjutant hurried into the office. After saluting the Marine Marshal, he respectfully presented several photos and a document. Marshal William, these are the photos that were urgently sent back just before the G-12 branch completely lost contact, and the information that the intelligence department just sorted out. What kind of monster is this? Looking at the photo, it was bathed in thunder, covered with feathers, and had 2 pairs of wings of different colors. It was a majestic behemoth. Marshal Hammonds William of the Naval Headquarters frowned and frowned. It's not like a snake, not like a bird. A mythical beast ability user? But he didn't dare to despise it at all. Just looking at the appearance of this strange creature in the photo, you can roughly guess that it should be the Zoan mythical beast ability that is rarer than Logia. I'm afraid it's quite extraordinary. Yes, according to the comparison of the devil fruit illustrations, it should be the ability of the snake fruit, mythical beast, Quetzalcoatl form. The ensign adjutant said seriously. It is said that it can control plants and has the power to call the wind and rain and control the weather. Quetzalcoatl form? Is it a giant? The Marine Intelligence Department has just made a judgment that it should not be a giant. According to the intelligence of Cypher POLCP directly under the world government, about half a year ago, a descendant of the Lunaria tribe who was suspected to have giant blood and was less than 10 years old came to Ai Erbafu and stayed there. The ensign adjutant responded. He pointed to the figure in the photo and said, "Moreover, if you look closely at the figure in the photo, the Quetzalcoatl originally only had 1 pair of wings, but this monster has another pair of black wings. And there is a ball of fire behind its head, which is the characteristic of the Lunaria tribe." You mean he's a Lunaria tribe? The Marine Marshal raised his eyebrows. For hundreds of years, the the world government has issued huge rewards for the Lunaria tribe. The Marines were ordered to search for the whereabouts of the Lunarians and to capture or kill the descendants of the Lunarians. The Lunarians are now almost extinct. Unexpectedly, a survivor of the Lunarians appeared in the sea, and he was a rare mythical beast. According to the information we obtained, this person is called Kukulkan Ai Er. The adjutant pointed to the document and asked the Marine Marshal to take a closer look. It was the survivor of the Lunarians with giant blood that our Marines and CPs were constantly chasing in the first half of the Grand Line 5 or 6 years ago. His father was a Lunarian and his mother was a giant. They both died in the fierce battle against the Marine encirclement and suppression because of their serious injuries. It also brought great casualties to the Marines, including 2 Naval Headquarters Vice Admirals. Speaking of this, the ensign paused and said in a deep voice, Kukulkan Ai Er, who was only 3 years old at the time, was strongly stimulated by the sacrifice of his parents and awakened the powerful conqueror's Haki, which stunned most of the Marines. Later, he relied on the flying ability of the Lunaria tribe and directly broke into the calm belt without any care. Because that was the lair of the large sea kings, our personnel had to give up the pursuit. In the following months, CP continued to investigate the surrounding waters, but did not find his whereabouts. They thought he had been buried in the sea. It seems that he must have found a foothold in the calm belt by accident and survived by chance, and crossed the red line half a year ago and fled to Ai Erbafu. Haman's William heard this. He immediately opened the file bag, which contained several pages of information and 2 photos. The first photo was a figure of a child who was much larger than an ordinary child, but had a childish face, about 3 years old, with wings on his back and flames behind his head. It looks similar to Ai Er. The second photo shows Ai Er training hard. The background is Ai Erbafu's village. Apparently, Sister Carmelo secretly took the photo and handed it to the world government. Well, I remember. Is it the fish that slipped through the net back then? Marine Marshal Hammond's William frowned and stared at the 2 photos. He flipped through the pages of documents with a solemn expression and had to take it seriously. It is indeed a terrible monster. If left alone, it will become a big trouble. Conqueror's Haki awakened at the age of 3. Not only does he have the bloodline of the giants and Lunaria, he is also a Zoan fantasy beast ability user who is rarer than Logia. The potential shown by the other party. It is indeed not to be ignored. Let's not talk about this for now. Put down Ai Er's information. The Marine Marshal looked solemn and gave the order directly. We have always lived in peace with the giants, and we have kept to ourselves. I don't think the giants in Ai Erbafu will go crazy for no reason. Immediately send someone to ask the vice admirals of the giants in the naval headquarters to see if they know anything about it. Let the intelligence department and CP find out what happened as soon as possible. Yes, Chapter 28, The Sea is Shaking. The new homies Yumabozu. The next day, the sea shook. Ai Erbafu's giant army. They broke through the G-12 branch fortress of Marine in the second half of New World. At the same time, 2 former leaders of the giant pirates, the world's oldest warriors, Mountain Beard and Waterfall Beard, used large Den Mushy to broadcast live to the world. It was announced that Virgin Mary Carmelo was actually the notorious human trafficker Yamababa in the underground world. All the problem children adopted by her were sold to CP Cypherpole under the world government, trained as spies, and discovered by the giants. Back then, Carmelo and the world government directed the drama of preventing Marine from publicly executing some members of the giant pirates, deceiving the giants all over the world in order to obtain the combat power of the giants. Therefore, the angry Ai Erbafu giant warriors launched a revenge operation. But soon, the world government, which mobilized the power of CP and roughly figured out the cause and effect of the incident, was extremely angry. The spokesperson of the world government held a press conference to criticize and refute the declaration of the giants. This is slander. Over the years, the world government has been seeking and trying to truly realize the wish of the world's races to coexist peacefully. Back then, because Sister Carmelo used her own strength to persuade people with justice, the world government, in order to consider the overall situation, ordered Marine to let go of the giant pirates who were to be publicly executed. But it is obvious that the giants not only rejected the goodwill of the world government, but also turned the tables. The giants not only killed the respected Virgin Sister Carmelo, but also gathered the giants' fighting power to break through the Marines' fortress in the New World. This is no longer an ordinary crime. The world government will never let it go. The giants who claimed that it was Erbafu were too cruel. Because of some conflicts, they killed the Holy Mother Carmelo, but they wanted to put the blame on the world government, and even threw dirty water on this nun who worked for the peace of all races all her life. If Carmelo was a human trafficker, how could she not be exposed for so many years? And her true face was revealed after she was killed by the giants? What evidence did the giants have? Damn the giants. Sister Carmelo was so great, but she killed her. She is the recognized Holy Mother. How could she be a human trafficker? The bastards of the giants in Ai Erbafu are so cruel that they even killed the Holy Mother, who was powerless. The damn giants not only killed the Holy Mother cruelly, but also tried to slander her. Those guys can't be spared. Under the extensive reports of the mouthpieces of the world government, people all over the world who have long believed in Carmelo, the Holy Mother, are naturally more willing to believe the words of the world government. They denounced, abused, and hated the giants. But at the same time, the giant vice admirals of naval headquarters, except for John Giant, the first giant vice admiral who was fooled by Carmelo and joined naval headquarters, and firmly believed in the justice of Marine and world government. Other giant vice admirals resigned one after another. They took off their Marine uniforms directly, left naval headquarters, and returned to their hometown. No matter how much naval headquarters explained, persuaded, or even tried to coerce and induce, they could not be retained at all, and these giant warriors were determined to leave. Tree, I am a tree, turn, let's play the Ferris wheel together, and at this moment. Dream house. Whether it is the Ferris wheel, the carousel, the rotating swing, and other amusement facilities, all of them have been harvested by Gerd, who directly injected souls and gave them life. Became the personified homies. It started moving there. It was shocking. It all started moving. It's so much fun. Gerd, you're awesome. Stop, I want to ride the Ferris wheel too. The children in the dream house were having fun. Even Linlin, Gerd, and Helding were no exception. They couldn't wait to sit on the Ferris wheel, and were a little excited. They were directing the Ferris wheel homies with an anthropomorphic smile to start turning. And the highest level homies, such as Zeus, Hera, and Prometheus, were also floating on it. Everyone be careful, don't fall down. Seeing this, Ai smiled. He didn't stop it, but instead reminded loudly there. This time, Gerd harvested a large number of souls, and after using the power of the soul fruit to inject some of the souls into these facilities and turn them all into homies, the dream park he had built before finally took shape. Splash, and on the scene not far away, a huge monster completely condensed from seawater appeared there, even more exaggerated than the large sea kings, and with an anthropomorphic face. It makes people's scalps numb. Yumabozu, the guarding of the sea surface will be handed over to you in the future. Ai Air flapped his wings and came to the coast. He shouted to this huge and somewhat scary sea homies, responsible for patrolling the surrounding seas every day, as long as it is not a giant ship, report immediately. If it is a ship of Marine and world government, sink them directly, capture those guys, and let your master Gerd plunder their souls. This is at his suggestion. Gerd used his own soul to inject it into the sea water and created the highest level homies Yumabozu. That's right, the ability of the soul fruit also has an effect on seawater. It's just that the ability user himself is still a landlubber cursed by the sea and cannot fall directly into the sea water and will be as powerless as other ability users, like Zeus and Prometheus. Yumabozu can manipulate the sea to form huge waves to crush the target. Moreover, he is seawater, so he will not be killed easily. It can be said that he is quite unsolvable. Unless he encounters a special ability user, It is not easy to hurt the Sea Master, let alone kill him. Yes, Ai Lord. The giant in the sea water responded happily. Please rest assured, I will lead them to protect this dreamland. It said, on the sea's surface around. All kinds of big fish and a large number of inconspicuous sea katsu jumped out. In addition to not being able to directly inject souls into living people or human corpses other than itself, the soul fruit can inject souls into any non-living objects or even animal corpses. These big fish and inconspicuous sea katsu, they were all injected with souls by Gerd and became homies creatures responsible for monitoring the sea area. Especially those sea katsu can transmit special radio wave signals, which are received by the large sea katsu left in the dream house and report abnormal situations as soon as possible. Even these homies in the dreamland have quite good combat power, especially the Ferris wheel, which is infused with the soul of the Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral and can be said to be one of the strongest guards of the dream house. Even if Ai and the others have to leave the dream house for something, there is no need to worry too much about someone invading. Haha, then I'll leave it to you. Chapter 29, Sky High Bounty? 600 million Baileys, Marshal William. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. In the Marshal's office on the highest floor of the solemn and majestic Marine building, Ensign Adjutant Mark saluted and said, at present, all the giant vice admirals, except John Giant, the first giant vice admiral who joined Marine, have submitted their resignations and left the Naval Headquarters despite dissuasion. We originally tried to stop them and prepare to arrest them, but we were not prepared in a hurry. These giant vice admirals were quite powerful and directly robbed a few warships and fled. Really? I didn't expect that the giant combat power that we recruited with great difficulty would be so easily affected by those guys from Ai Erbafu. The painstaking plan failed in the end, and the work was in vain. Hayman's William looked gloomy. Clenching his fists, he spoke coldly. Marine's justice cannot be violated. They can't come and go as they please. Immediately release their bounty and arrest these Marine traitors. Yes, Mark Ensign stood at attention and saluted. In addition, Vice Admiral Kong of G11 and Vice Admiral Bayer of G13 led their fleets to G12 for reinforcements. They found that the entire branch fortress had been destroyed and there were no survivors. Vice Admiral Modi of G12 was burned all over and died unfortunately. Some Marines were trapped by a large number of vines and died in a horrible way. Others had their blood sucked dry and turned into mummies. They were suspected to be killed by different ability users. We suspect that in addition to Kukul Khan Ai the survivor of the Lunaria tribe, there are other ability users in Ai Erbafu's giant tribe. Although giant ability users are rare, they have appeared before. Hayman's Williams spoke lightly, not surprisingly. Devil fruit, known as the secret treasure of the sea, is scattered in every corner of the sea. Even if the world government is powerful and has firmly ruled and controlled this sea for more than 700 years, it cannot recycle and preserve all the devil fruit. Moreover, after the death of the ability user, the devil fruit ability will be randomly reborn and may appear in any corner of the sea, uncontrolled, and there is no trace at all. Humans have more demon fruit power because the base number of humans is relatively large. But it is not surprising that occasionally giants or other minority races get devil fruit and become ability users by chance. Let Kong and Bayer send out surveillance ships to monitor the every move of Ai Erbafu and stay alert. Be sure to be vigilant against the giants of Ai Erbafu to prevent them from continuing to send troops to attack other branch fortresses. Hammond's Williams said in a deep voice. But before Hack Admiral arrives in the second half of New World, try not to conflict with him first. It's not that he doesn't want to retaliate directly with Thunder. If it was just a giant pirate group, then of course it would be easy to say. But this matter is obviously not just about the giant pirate group. As the world's #1 power, Ai Erbafu is different from ordinary countries and cannot be easily controlled. If the Marines really wanted to gather their forces and launch a buster call against Ai Erbafu, they could easily summon tens of thousands of giant warriors. The giants are gifted. They are born with huge bodies, strong physiques, and amazing strength. Even children have considerable fighting power, and everyone can be a soldier. Adult giants, with a little training, can become powerful and powerful warriors. Even ordinary naval headquarters rear admirals, except for some special ability people, are not necessarily opponents of adult giant warriors. Those with slightly stronger strength can even be comparable to the vice admirals of the naval headquarters. To deal with and contain a giant warrior, at least hundreds or thousands of Marine elites are needed to subdue them, and they may not even find a chance to defeat them one by one. Hundreds of giants gathered together. They can easily break through the G-headed fortress directly under the naval headquarters. If there are tens of thousands of giant armies, it's scary to think about it. Even as the naval headquarters, the overlord of the sea. If you want to start a war against the giants, you must be prepared for mutual destruction. Moreover, the lifespan of the giants is more than 3 times that of humans. No one knows whether there are any powerful monsters among the giants of Erbafu. Maybe some extremely powerful guys will suddenly appear. It may even get a response from the giants all over the world. A single move can affect the whole body. By the way, Marshal William, about that Kukulkan Ai Adjutant Ensign thought of something and said in a deep voice, "In the past few months, CP has been trying to capture him, but because he is hiding in Ai Erbafu and is protected by the giants, and the world government has just eased relations with the giants, they have some concerns and have been unable to act." And according to the information from CP, although Kukulkan Ai is less than 10 years old, he is invulnerable to swords and guns and has infinite strength. He is a natural monster and a user of the ability of the mythical beast species Quetzalcoatl. It is said that he has quite amazing combat power. Even without the ability of the fruit and the racial innate ability of the Lunaria tribe to manipulate fire, some adult giant warriors cannot shake him at all. They are thrown into the air by him with one hand and played with like toys, even if there is no defense. Even if the giant warriors swing their swords with all their strength to cut him, the blades will be broken directly, and he himself will be unscathed. What? A natural monster. Hearing this, Hammond Williams' pupils shrank sharply. His face was solemn, and he couldn't help but stand up suddenly, somewhat shocked. Is it such a natural monster? If this information is true, then such a performance is really frightening. He thought he had paid enough attention to this Lunaria kid, but he didn't expect that he still underestimated him. If he grows up, what will happen? Yes, this is the information provided by Sister Carmelo. She has no reason to deceive us. Having said that, Mark Ensign paused and added the report. In addition, CP reported that a few days ago, a world government ship suddenly lost contact near Ai Erbafu. It is said that there are not only a large number of government personnel on it, but also 3 CP0 members. I am afraid it may be related to it. What people have to pay attention to is that these CP0 agents did not send back any information before their life cards burned to ashes. This is not in line with their style of doing things. Is CP0 among them? Hammond Williams' eyes shrank. His face was full of seriousness, and the tall figure paced back and forth there. If that's true, then his strength should not be underestimated. Although he didn't like CP0, the top secret cipher POL under the world government, which was directly under the world's nobles and the arrogant and rude style of celestial dragons first, me second, which always went its own way and didn't take Marines seriously at all. But the combat effectiveness of those guys, he, the Marine Marshal, still knew it very well. In particular, most of these CP agents were strictly trained since childhood. After undergoing strict and cruel training, they were instilled with the idea of swearing allegiance to the world government and mission first. Even if they knew they would die, they would implement the instructions of their superiors and sacrifice themselves without hesitation in order to complete the mission. Even if they suddenly encountered an irresistible crisis during the mission, they would send back as much information as possible as soon as possible. If they lost contact, they would not send back any news until they died. That means that either the din mushy signal was interfered and could not be used normally, or it may have been subdued or even kill before it could send back the message. According to CP's report, the hybrid of the Lunaria tribe and the giant tribe is really an extremely special natural monster. In addition, he is also a user of the ability of the mythical beast species Quetzalcoatl. It is indeed possible to do this. Marshall, do you want to issue a bounty for this person? Mark Ensign asked. Well, set it at 500 million. Hammond's William pondered. Finally, he made up his mind and changed his words directly. No, set his bounty at 600 million Baileys. 600 million? The adjutant was shocked. Although he was not unaware of the peculiarities of Kukulkan Ai Erbafu, a natural monster of the Lunaria tribe, but he still looked at the Marine Marshal with some disbelief, wondering if he had heard wrong. So far, no one on the sea has ever been rewarded with 600 million Baileys by the world government for the first time. Even the two leaders of the giant pirates who suddenly disappeared, Blue Ogre Dory and Red Ogre Broggy, only had a bounty of 100 million berries, although that was a bounty from more than 30 years ago. But how many pirates in the entire ocean have a bounty of more than 500 million berries? It is incredible that a kid under 10 years old has such a high reward. Marshal William, this. You heard it right. It's 600 million Baileys. Haymans William crossed his arms, glanced at the adjutant, and said in a deep voice, he is a survivor of the Lunaria tribe, and his situation is quite special. The world government has already issued a reward. Once the whereabouts of the Lunaria tribe are found, as long as you report to the world government, you can get a reward of 100 million Baileys. If you can catch him, you could get at least 500 million in rewards. Of course, that means you must catch him alive. The behavior of this Lunaria kid in the G12 fortress has also fully demonstrated that he is likely to have a grudge against Marine or the world government because of what happened that year, and will not miss any opportunity to retaliate against the world government. Considering the danger of this guy, if he is left alone like this, he will inevitably become a huge threat. So, Kukulkan Ai Erbafu's bounty is different from that of ordinary pirates. It must be set higher. 600 million Baileys, regardless of life or death. Yes. Chapter 30 Fallen Angel Ai Erbafu Longbread. Time passed. Several days passed, because the vice admirals of the giants withdrew one after another. They lost the giant fighting force that they had fooled with great difficulty. The world government, which had been planning for these years but failed at the last moment, was obviously extremely angry. Its mouthpieces, major news media, constantly used the death of Virgin Mary Carmelo to guide public opinion, making people all over the world indignant. They accused the Ai Erbafu giants of brutality, and their good impression of the giants continued to decline, becoming more and more repulsive and disgusted. But even the domineering world government, facing the recognized world's #1 power on the sea, had some concerns after all. In addition to issuing corresponding rewards for the giant warriors who participated in the war, Marine Admiral Ironclaw Hack, who represented the highest fighting force of the naval headquarters, came to the G11 branch to take charge. In order to mobilize fleets and troops from major branches of the New World to rebuild the G12 fortress, and even send out surveillance ships, monitor the every move of Ai Erbafu, and beware of other actions of the giants. But obviously there is no intention to gather troops at all costs and launch a buster call against Ai Erbafu. However, the Internal of Marine has ordered to increase the efforts to capture the giant pirates outside. Since the two sides have torn their faces, they will naturally not give these giants face again. What? Fallen Angel Ai Erbafu? Is this guy from the Lunaria tribe? 600 million Baileys, regardless of life or death. Really? 600 million Baileys are offered at the age of 9. It's incredible. Did he also participate in the battle of the Ai Erbafu giants to destroy the Marine G12 branch fortress? I remember that as long as the whereabouts of the Lunaria tribe are found and reported to the world government, a reward of 100 million Baileys can be obtained, right? The murderer suspected of killing the Virgin Mary Carmelo and attacking the world government ship. On the 5th day after the Marine G12 fortress was breached, the newsbirds flew to all parts of the world. Newly released bounties were placed in brand new newspapers and scattered all over the sea. The sea was in an uproar, and many people were somewhat shocked. No one expected that the bounty for a 9-year-old child for the first time exceeded 500 million berries, reaching an astonishing 600 million berries. Even for the Lunaria clan, it was a bit shocking. If they remembered correctly, even the two leaders of the giant pirates, Blue Ogre and Red Ogre, were only offered a bounty of 100 million berries each. Although that was more than 30 years ago, if they hadn't disappeared suddenly, the bounty would definitely have increased. But it might not exceed 500 million berries. This is, at this moment, the second half of New World, the sea area next to Ai Erbafu Dreamland. Looking at the newspaper just bought from the newsbird and the bounty that fell out of it, Gerd was full of surprise. He ran up happily and said to Ai Er, who was training in front, Ai Er, Marine has offered a bounty of 600 million berries on you. 600 million? Really? Gerd, show us. Fallen Angel? Is this the nickname of Boss Ai Er? As expected of Boss Ai Er. Too awesome. The children of the dream house all came up and asked Gerd, the little giant, to show them the bounty. Fallen Angel Ai Er? It's really 600 million. Halding ran up and looked at the familiar figure on the bounty and couldn't help but widen his eyes. Awesome. Even the leaders of the two giant pirates, Blue Ogre and Red Ogre, don't have such a high bounty. Linlin, who had turned into a giant bat and was chasing Zeus, Hera, Prometheus, and other top homies, could not help but stop when he heard this. He flapped his wings and landed on the ground, turning into a human form, biting his fingers, full of curiosity. 600 million Baileys. Is it a lot? Not a lot, but it's ridiculously high, Linlin. Halding shouted there, this time leaving the dream house. 600 million? Shaking off the sweat, Ai Er came over and took the bounty. Looking at the photo of himself on it, he soon found that the background on it was Ai Erbafu. This photo was taken by Carmelo and sold to the world government, right? Fallen Angel? Soso. He was not too surprised by such a bounty and title. After all, as a member of the Lunaria clan, the bounty itself could not be too low. In addition, Carmelo had already told the world government that he was a natural monster, and this time he showed his own mythical bee species, Quetzalcoatl form in the G12 branch, which can directly call the wind and rain and control thunder. In this case, if Marine does not take it seriously, it would be too underestimated and too arrogant. Everyone, there seems to be movement on the sea. At this time, Moss, a young man from the Lion Fur tribe, who was looking at the distant sea with a monocular telescope, suddenly pointed at the sea and shouted, "What's wrong? There are big waves rolling." Many people looked over in surprise, but vaguely, only a huge wave was seen and nothing was found. It's the Sea Lord. It found someone breaking in. Gerd was surprised. Is it a pirate? Splash. Soon on the distant sea, a huge wave with a devilish face, as if it had life, rushed towards a dream house at an alarming speed. An overturned boat was sent to the coast. Moreover, there was a short figure who was choked by the sea water and fainted. Master Gerd, Master Ai Er. The waves were surging. The Sea Lord in the sea shouted, "This ship tried to approach the dream house. I overturned it, but there seems to be only one person on it. You did a good job. Thank you for your hard work." Looking at the short figure, Ai Er smiled. He went straight forward and squatted down, his index finger pressed on the other party's swollen abdomen. Ahem! A stream of water sprayed out. The fainted figure woke up, looking at the huge figure in front of him. The long-bred pupils shrank sharply and cried out, "You are the fallen angel Ai Er?" The heroic young man in front of him had a little giant-like figure, black wings, and a ball of flames behind his head. The identity was about to be revealed. He had just seen the other party's bounty not long ago. Fallen angel Ai Er, a monster with a bounty of 600 million berries at the age of 9, breaking the bounty record of the world government. Chapter 31. Follow? Paramecia. Eat the fruit. Ah, it seems you know me. On the coast, Ai Er crossed his arms and glanced at the other party. It seems that you're a swordsman with good strength. Why? Do you want to take my head and go to the world government to collect the reward? A blazing flame burst out directly from his right hand. Crackle! The exaggerated flames emitted amazing heat waves. It made people's scalps numb. It was not surprising that the other party recognized him. After all, the wanted order of him, a survivor of the Lunaria tribe, was probably spread all over the world. There was no need to work hard to read the other party's memory. In fact, Ai Air had already seen through the other party's identity at the first time. Longbread, the user of the paramecia eat fruit, didn't expect to meet him so soon. The other party's aura is indeed not weak. At least he is a swordsman, and he should have mastered the 2 Haki of observation and armed color. Of course, it is certain that he cannot pose a threat to him. No, I don't have any bad intentions. I just wanted to find a place to rest, but I didn't expect this to be your place of residence. The heat wave hit him. It made Longbread take a few steps back subconsciously. He was full of vigilance, and his hair stood up, looking at the tall boy in front of him. He had the illusion that if he dared to attack directly, he might be beheaded immediately. Fur tribe, fish tribe, snakehead tribe, long-leg tribe. Longbread's eyes shrank when he noticed the children of various races coming around. He was quick-witted and guessed that it should be the fallen angel Ai Air who took in these children of different races here. Obviously, the other party had great ambitions. In fact, he was also a swordsman with good strength. And he was also the user of the paramecia eat fruit. He used to be a chef and a pirate, but for some reason, his career failed. It was a big blow to the once high-spirited Longbread. He realized that his talents were limited, and he was destined to not achieve much. But he still looked down on ordinary pirate groups. So he has been alone. But if possible, please let me stay. Looking at Ai Air's immature but majestic figure, Longbread's eyes were blazing, and he bowed deeply 90 degrees there, saying loudly, "I am willing to follow you. Let me join you, Lord Ai Air." If it is said at the beginning, he still had doubts about the strength of the fallen angel Ai Air. After all, a 9-year-old followed the giant warriors and destroyed the G-12 fortress of Marine and was rewarded with 600 million Baileys by Marine. It was a bit too exaggerated. But from the first sight of seeing the other party, he knew that the other party's 600 million Bailey bounty was definitely not just because of the identity of the Lunaria tribe, but was really a monster with unlimited potential. That breath that was like a human-shaped beast, which made people shudder, was not a joke. Only such a person was worthy of his long bread to follow. Moreover, as a chef, he is not only a powerful swordsman, but also a person who can eat fruits. Following such a promising person, his status will naturally rise. You want to follow boss Ai Air? Seeing this scene, Linlin, Gerd, Helding, and the Fur Tribe Moss were all a little surprised. Unexpectedly, the other party came up and bowed to Ai Air and wanted to join him. Ai Air, you can't trust him. But when he thought of the fact that Carmelo had deceived the giants, Helding couldn't trust him and shouted to Ai Air, "Humans are very cunning. You've just been offered a reward of 600 million berries. He may have ulterior motives and want to murder you. Yes, you can't trust him easily." Even Mountain Beard and Waterfall Beard, experienced giant warriors, were deceived by Carmelo. Gerd also shouted immediately. He stared at the Longbread with a bad look and raised the long axe with a cold glow. He was about to chop him directly if they disagreed. Ai Air, this guy is full of bad water, and he is not a good person at first glance. The young man Jane of the Fishman tribe showed his shark teeth. He rolled up his sleeves and wanted to step forward. For safety, let's just throw him into the sea to feed the fish. Okay, with your strength, you still need more than 10 or 20 years to throw him into the sea. Ai Air knocked on the forehead of the fishman, Jane, unhappily to stop the impulsive opponent. A young fishman who is not yet an adult has only been trained for a few days. He can't threaten a swordsman like Long Bao Mao at all. The opponent is just afraid of him. Wait, I really want to surrender sincerely, without any conspiracy. Long Bao Mao waved his hands repeatedly. He was busy explaining loudly. I can swear that I just think that Lord Ai Air has great potential and a bright future, so I want to follow him actively, without any malice. He boasted that he had strong strength, but he knew that he was no match for the Lunaria monster in front of him, even though the other party was ridiculously young. Especially, he saw it. The photo published by world government in the newspaper. The other party can transform into a giant snake with wings and bathed in thunder. It seems to be a rare Zoan fantasy beast with incredible and terrible power. It is simply a walking human disaster. The most important thing is that he doesn't think that the guy who dared to follow the giants and destroy the marine fortress at the age of 9 would be a good person. He dare not treat him as an ordinary kid. The other party can be seen at a glance that he has a calm personality and precocious mind. Trying to show off his scheming and deceive the other party is stupid. If the fallen angel Ai Erbafu really has murderous intentions, his life will be in danger. Oh, looking at the long bread that was trying to explain, Ai Erbafu smiled lightly. His special observation Haki can naturally see through the other party's mind. This guy is very smart. However, the dream house does lack a professional chef. It's okay to accept it. Lord Ai Erbafu, I believe you are a man with great ambitions, and I am willing to follow you sincerely. Sure enough, Bread's face was full of enthusiasm. Looking up at the tall Ai Erbafu, he said loudly, "My name is Bread. I am a pirate, a chef, a swordsman, and a paramecium eat fruit. I can turn any inanimate object into delicious ingredients, which should be very useful to you." After saying that, he grabbed a stone casually. In the shocked eyes of Linlin and others, the stone softened directly and turned into white bread. And he grabbed a handful of soil and sprinkled it on. In a blink of an eye, the soil turned into delicious cream. Then he grabbed a handful of weeds and sprinkled them on, and those weeds turned into sakura peaches, mangoes, blueberries, and other fruit cuts. Crystal clear and sparkling. It makes people salivate. This is, wow, the stone turned into a cake. Eat the fruit. Is there such a devil fruit ability? Incredible. Looking at this magical scene, Herodin, Gerd, Fishman Jane, and others were all shocked. Looking at the tempting cake that seemed to exude a sweet scent, they couldn't help swallowing their saliva. Can I eat it? Linlin's eyes were full of stars, and her mouth was drooling. She couldn't wait to step forward and pointed at the cake that was turned from the stone and asked Longbread, "Of course you can." Longbread nodded hurriedly. As he said that, he drew the dagger at his waist. He took the lead in cutting off a piece of cake and stuffed it into his mouth. Then he handed the other piece to Linlin. He indicated that it was edible and not poisonous. Although these ingredients are only transformed by the devil fruit ability, they may not be as perfect as those of the best ingredients, and the real ingredients have a unique flavor. Pointed to the cake in Linlin's hand. The long bread was full of pride, explaining, "But after my processing, the taste is far better than the desserts carefully cooked by most chefs in the world." Ai Erbafu smiled lightly and did not mean to stop it, because the food made by the ability of the eat fruit is indeed edible. And to be honest, the taste is not ordinary, far better than the skills of most chefs. Only those who are really used to tasting all kinds of food and have extremely picky taste buds will dislike the food made by the ability of the eat fruit. Wow. Linlin's eyes lit up. Before Gerd and the others could stop him, he couldn't wait to put it in his mouth. "It's true, it's delicious." Linlin squinted his eyes, tasting the sweet pastry. After confirming that it was a real cake, she was still not satisfied. She stared at the long bread with her mouth watering. "Can you make more snacks? I want more." Is this true? Then I want some too. Can you make any snacks? I want some too. Hey, calm down. He's an unidentified pirate. Chapter 32. Fallen Angel Pirates, Barbaric Island? Ship. I am a ship 3 days later. A strange ship transformed from a world government ship, with no sails lowered at all. Under the guidance of a huge wave raised by the highest level Homai's Haifeng Zoo, it left the dream house at an astonishing speed and rushed towards the distance. On the huge mast, the flag belonging to the world government had long disappeared. Instead, there was a pirate flag with a skull, 2 double-edged swords crossed in front, a flame pattern behind the skull, and wings on both sides. It was fluttering in the wind. Moreover, on the ramming carvings of this ship, there were anthropomorphic expressions, as if they were alive, singing happily there. Of course, What was even more exaggerated was the bottom of the ship. The huge wave with anthropomorphic expressions was pushing it forward quickly. It was shocking and astonishing. And on the deck, there were 4 or 5 figures. Among them, 4 are as tall as little giants, which makes people afraid. There's also a figure that is shorter than a normal adult man and is about 20 or 30 years old. After 3 days of testing, with the ability to eat fruit and his own superb cooking skills, he easily conquered the stomachs of everyone in the dream house. In addition, as a swordsman, he can easily swing the powerful swordsmanship of Flying Slash, which has won the admiration of many members of the dream house. With the permission of the children in the dream house who unanimously praised, Longbread just joined the Fallen Angel Pirates officially created by Ai Air as a chef, navigator, and fighter, and became one of them. Soul Fruit. Looking at this ship that seems to have life and can sail by itself, and the exaggeratedly large homized waves that make people's scalps numb. Even this pirate chef who has been working in the Grand Line for a long time and is only 29 years old, but is already considered an old-fashioned, can't help but marvel. What an incredible ability. Bread, are you sure this live card points to Barbaric Island? Looking around, Gerd asked excitedly. Yes, Bread is not only a top chef, but also a very good navigator. It must be right, Lord Gerd. Every island I have visited will specially make a life card, leave a part there, and use it as a permanent record pointer to prevent the island from being found in the future. Bread patted his chest and vowed. 3 years ago, I went to Barbaric Island. This life card was made at that time, and the other half was specially torn off and buried there. The life card can not only show the owner's life status, and the torn parts of the same life card will attract each other. If multiple pieces are torn directly from it, then the smaller life card will generally point to the larger part. The magnetic field of New World is much more chaotic than the first half of Grand Line, and it is impossible to make a permanent record pointer. Even a record pointer with 3 record magnetic needles that people often use is still full of uncertainty. If you want to accurately guide to a certain island, you can only rely on the guidance of the life card. Longbread's practice is not an exception. This is the method used by most people with rich sailing experience in New World. It can ensure that you can go back and forth to the places you have been to at any time through the guidance of the life card. But I like to ask, Lord Ai Air, what are you going to Barbary Island for? Longbread looked curiously at Ai Air, who was leading with a long sword and majestic. I think you should have heard of the Virgin Mary. Ai Air, sitting on the bow, glanced at him. He was still very satisfied with having a reliable chef and navigator. Moreover, under his special observation Haki's investigation, the other party did not have any evil intentions. After Longbread joined, he officially formed the Fallen Angel Pirates. Linlin, Gerd, Helding, and others became combatants. As for the children of Dream House, they naturally wanted to join the pirate group. Ai Air directly taught them the training methods of 6 styles and Haki, and gave everyone a condition. Except for Linlin, Gerd, Helding, and others must master half of the 6 styles or be able to master 1 Haki to become a formal member of the Fallen Angel Pirates. If you are interested in learning swordsmanship and want to become a swordsman, you can also practice swordsmanship with the swordsman Longbread. Now, those little brats are staying in Dreamland and training hard to join the Fallen Angel Pirates. So this time, he only brought Linlin, Gerd, Helding, and Longbread, a chef and navigator. As for the safety of Dreamland, there are a lot of homies guarding it, so there is no need to worry too much. Holy Mother? Do you mean Sister Carmelo? Longbread was stunned. He subconsciously glanced at the giants such as Helding and Gerd, and nodded there. Of course I have heard of it, but it seems that the giants say that she is a human trafficker. If you remember correctly, the world government refuted this statement in the newspaper. It also said that this Lord Ai Air was suspected to be the real murderer who killed Sister Carmelo, but the giants chose to protect him, a descendant with demon blood. Of course, as a pirate, Longbread naturally did not believe the words of the world government. However, the world government once published a photo of the fallen angel Ai Air transforming in the G-12 fortress in the newspaper. This lord transformed into a huge, terrifying monster that was bathed in lightning and resembled a snake or a bird. I heard that it was also a rare, mythical beast species, Quetzalcoatl form. He looked incredibly powerful. Therefore, the self-aware Longbred chose to surrender to the dreamland without hesitation and was willing to follow, not only to save his own life, but also to be able to follow such a great man with great potential who would have unlimited achievements if he grew up in the future. In fact, after 3 days of observation and discovery, he felt more and more that he had made the right choice. This team has absolutely unlimited potential. Apart from anything else, the homie's army alone shocked him. Not to mention, through communicating with the little brats in the dream house, he learned that Ai, and Linlin were truly natural monsters who were invulnerable and powerful. Especially, I witnessed Ai, and Linglin's exaggerated training methods. This is indeed proved. It's jaw-dropping. Yes, her true identity is a human trafficker. Galmalo is so hateful, he deceived our giants. The 2 young giants, Wielding and Gerd, spoke angrily. Those guys from the world government, under the circumstances of being cautious and unwilling to make a big move, seeing that they can't do anything to Ai Erbafu, the world's #1 power. They can only throw dirty water on me to show their justice and authority. Ai folded his arms and sneered. However, they guessed it by accident. I did kill Carmelo. Moreover, I also learned from her where the treasures that this human trafficker had accumulated over decades of child trafficking were hidden. The reason why he didn't go and take out the treasures until now was because there was no life card guidance. Because Carmelo had left her life card there, but after her death, the life card had turned into ashes, so there was no way to guide her. Unexpectedly, Longbred had been there and left a life card. It brought him a big surprise. Treasure. Several people heard it. All of them couldn't help but shine. However, in addition to Longbred, it was because of the treasure itself. Linlin, Gerd, and Wielding were more curious and looking forward to this kind of treasure hunting game. That's right, Carmelo hid the treasure she had obtained for most of her life on Barbaric Island. Ai looked at her with a smile and said, "Those treasures are secondary to us. The main thing is that she also collected 2 devil fruits." Devil fruit. Chapter 33, Admiral Candidate. Kong. Hualala. Time passed. Sailing on the sea is very boring. Even with the Sea Lord, this sea homie is constantly pushing and accelerating, taking the ship named Demon King Lu Cypher by Ai rushing on the sea. But it is still a long distance from Barbaric Island. It takes at least nearly a day's journey. Lord Ai there is movement on the sea ahead. A swift falcon circled down from the sky. Reported to Ai who was about to start training with Linlin, Gerd, and others after enjoying the hearty breakfast prepared by Longbred. This is the homie born from the soul injected into the animal corpse, responsible for patrolling the situation on the sea surface. Oh, Ai grabbed the large monocular telescope placed next to the bow. This is a thing specially brought from Ai Erbafu, specially tailored for the giants. Observing the sea in the distance carefully, he soon found the target. A fleet of 7 or 8 warships appeared in front, and the leading warship was the most advanced battleship of Marine. Even the escort ships guarding the surroundings were medium-sized and large warships. This means that there is at least a vice admiral of the naval headquarters in command. That is the Marine fleet. Observing the Marine fleet in front, the pupils of the Longbred shrank sharply, and he said loudly, "Lord Ai I was chased by them a few days ago, so I had to break into the sea where the Dreamland is located and was attacked by the Sea Master. Well, when I went to visit the 2 masters, Mountain Beard and Waterfall Beard, I heard them talk about." Ai shrugged and said lightly, "In the past few days, Marine has been monitoring Ai Erbafu's every move, guarding against it, for fear that the giants will make any big moves again. Obviously, Marine try to block Ai Erbafu invisibly. Once a lone or small-scale giant wants to leave this sea area and is discovered, they will directly sink its ship, hunt it, or arrest it. In retaliation for Ai Erbafu sending hundreds of giants to destroy the G-12 fortress. Of course, Such a move can't last long. It can be regarded as a show for the giants and the whole world to save face and deter other forces. Don't worry about them. Haifang's crush them. Ai Air's face was cold, and he gave the order directly. He didn't have any good feelings for Marine. Since they were enemies who would never stop fighting, then dead enemies were good enemies. Lord Ai Air, I think it's better to just avoid them and try not to provoke them. Hearing Ai Air say this, the face of the long bread changed, and he was busy reminding. The flagship in the lead is the flagship of the powerful Vice Admiral Kong in the Marine. He is not an ordinary Vice Admiral of the Naval Headquarters. I heard that he has the ability to serve as a Marine Admiral and has been listed as one of the candidates for Admiral by the top leaders. I don't know how many pirates he has captured. Kong, candidate for Admiral? Is he so powerful? Linlin, Gerd, and Hailding were surprised, especially Gerd and Hailding. After Ai Air's free science popularization these days, they still have some understanding of the situation in the sea and the Admiral of Headquarters. I heard that admirals represent the highest combat power of the Naval Headquarters and are powerful monsters. And this Vice Admiral Kong can actually become a candidate for Admiral. It's really not simple. Oh, Kong. Ai Air was a little surprised. He could not help but observe the leading warship through a monocular. On the leading warship, the statue on the ram was a giant ape with a ferocious mouth and muscles. And on the huge sail, in addition to the logo of Marine and World Government. As expected, there was a flag of coup. Soon, he found the bow of the large battleship. There's also a tall figure using a monocular to observe this side. Moreover, both of them found each other. Through the telescope, they looked at each other in the air. A suspicious target was found ahead. What's going on? A huge wave with a human expression. And on the sea in the distance, a fleet consisting of several warships was forming a formation on the sea and moving slowly forward. What? A huge wave with an expression? Hey, are you kidding? Be serious. This is not the time to joke. A hole. Do you want to be put in solitary confinement? The Marines below were all stunned, a little confused. The officers and officers started to scold, thinking that the other party was dazzled and saw it wrong. Or maybe he had stayed on the observation deck for too long and had a problem with his brain. Gulu, I'm really not kidding. There is indeed a huge wave. It is rushing towards me quickly with a laugh. On the leading flagship, the lookout on the mast looked at the Homai's huge wave, a little incredible. But soon there were other discoveries, and he hurriedly reported loudly to the bottom. There is a pirate ship above this huge wave. There are about 5 people, 4 huge children, 3 of whom should be children of the giant tribe, and a short human. Soon, the lookout widened his eyes. He swallowed his saliva and reported in shock. The leader has gray hair, black wings, and a flame on the back of his head. It must be the fallen angel Ai Air who was just offered a bounty of 600 million berries by Marine. What? Fallen angel Ai Air? That kid from the Lunaria clan? Are there no other giants on it? Wait, that wave. Gulu, it's really laughing. What's going on? One by one, Marine was shocked, looking at the vaguely visible pirate ship on the sea in the distance in disbelief. Moreover, the huge wave below was indeed getting bigger and bigger, and a strange face could be vaguely seen, showing a smile. Everyone was a little dazed and stunned, frightened. That huge wave. On the bow, a figure with a body size of no less than 3 or 4 meters, with a hedgehog head, tall stature, and strong muscles, stood there. It was none other than the fleet commander, the base chief of the G-11 branch, the powerful vice admiral of the naval headquarters, and one of the admiral candidates, Kong. Is it some strange ability? Kong, wearing a suit and a marine justice cloak, looked majestic. He was using a monocular to observe the huge wave in front of him, and he immediately noticed the pirate ship on it and Ai Air standing on the bow. His face was serious, but it is indeed the survivor of the Lunaria tribe. Fallen angel Ai Air. On the side, a naval headquarters rear admiral, also using a monocular, looked at the figure of a boy with black wings, like a fallen angel. His face was complicated, and he said with inexplicable emotion, 6 years ago, when the Marines surrounded their family. I was also there as a Marine colonel at the time, but I was shocked by his performance. I still remember the scene vividly. Awakening Conqueror's Haki at the age of 3 can be said to be rare in the world, and it is indeed not to be underestimated. Kong nodded. As a powerful vice admiral of the naval headquarters, he naturally had heard the detailed intelligence of the other party. Because the father and son were from the Lunaria tribe, they were wanted and hunted by the world government without any reservation. The young fallen angel, Kukulkan Ai heir, was strongly stimulated by the death of his parents and awakened Conqueror's Haki on the spot, shocking many Marines responsible for the encirclement of their family. He showed such qualifications at the age of 3, and he was a hybrid of the Lunaria tribe and the Giant tribe. It is said that he is a monster who is born invulnerable to swords and guns and has infinite strength. I am afraid that the potential of this Lunaria kid is quite amazing. No, Vice Admiral Kong, that's not what I meant. The Marine Rear Admiral shook his head. He took a deep breath, stared at his superior who had outstanding military exploits and was incredibly strong. He was said to have been listed as a candidate for admiral. He said word by word. What is really shocking is that he quickly regained his composure at that time. He did not kill Marine regardless of anything. Instead, he directly controlled the flames and burned his parents' bodies to ashes on the spot and scattered the ashes into the sea. At the age of 3, his calm and even cold attitude made many Marines a little scared. Is that so? Kong's face became solemn. Such a cold heart, coupled with his amazing qualifications and racial talents. Once he grows up, he will probably become a big worry for Marine. Since we meet him, we must keep him no matter what. Chapter 34. Meeting Gift. Ai heirs will fight Kong. Staring at the fleet in front, Ai heir couldn't help but narrow his eyes, looking at the tall figure on the bow of the leading battleship, who was sturdy and majestic without anger. He was a little surprised. He didn't expect that this future naval headquarters marshal, who was later promoted to the commander-in-chief of the world government, was already the candidate for admiral of the naval headquarters at this time. Get out of the way. The corners of his mouth raised directly, and he decided to test it first. Without hesitation, he directly drew the long sword at his waist and swung it diagonally. The momentum kept rising. Lord Ai heir, seeing this, the Longbred was stunned. Quickly get out of the way. Don't get in the way. Just watch obediently. But he was immediately pulled back by the collar, by wielding like an eagle catching a chick. Pull the distance and make room. I'm so envious. When can I master the spear of Ai Erbafu? Linlin was full of envy. Grabbing the big knife at her waist, she imitated it in a very realistic way. Linlin, you were born like Ai heir. You should be able to master it when you grow up. Gerd put his hands on his waist and said unhappily, if you want to say envy, it should be me. Although Linlin is simple-minded, she has a very high understanding. When practicing, she can quickly understand the key points and tricks taught by Ai heir. But she and wielding are very envious. Spear of Ai Erbafu? Longbred was surprised and confused, but soon he couldn't help but widen his eyes, and his eyeballs almost flew out. Wagwa Ai heir looked stern. The sword blade slashed forward. Swish! The atmosphere was distorted, and the terrifying sword pressure swept out. It turned into a fierce, cylindrical shockwave and blasted straight towards the leading battleship in the distance. What? The Longbred opened his mouth wide. He was in disbelief. His jaw almost dropped to the ground. What is that? Damn, they are attacking us. Is this the slash of the fallen angel Ai heir? Hey, are you kidding? On the fleet in the distance. A Marine was shocked. He looked at the giant sword energy that broke through the air like lightning in shock. He never thought that a little kid like the fallen angel Ai heir could swing such an exaggerated slash. He attacked them from such a long distance. Is this Ai Erbafu's legendary spear skill? The pupils of Kong, the leader, shrank. This kid, bang! He did not hesitate. He pressed hard under his feet. The water level of the warship seemed to have sunk greatly. Swish! The tall figure rushed out instantly, facing the unstoppable and violent sword energy shockwave. The right fist was wrapped with high-level armament Haki. He blasted out. Vajra collision. The atmosphere was directly crushed. The powerful high-level armament Haki, along with the fierce energy, turned into a violent shock wave and swept out. It collided fiercely with the cylindrical sword energy shock wave that penetrated. Boom, boom. The loud noise shook the sky. On the sea, huge waves rolled. Woo-hoo-hoo. The air waves visible to the naked eye kept rippling. One after another, amazing waves swept in all directions one after another, causing the warships to start shaking. Many Marines were caught off guard and almost fell down with bloodshot heads. That guy, he actually blocked Ai Erbafu. Gurgle. Is this the strength of the Admiral candidate? Linlin, Helding, Gerd, and others couldn't help but open their mouths wide, and some lost their voices in disbelief. It was the first time they saw that the indestructible and unstoppable Ai Erbafu spear was blocked so easily. He actually swung such an amazing slash at once. Is this the unique skill of the Ai Erbafu giants? Longbread was a little shocked. He thought that Ai Air's strength must be very strong, but he didn't expect that the opponent could easily swing such an exaggerated attack without even using the fruit ability. That is, the person sitting opposite was the Admiral candidate Kong, who was just in his early 30s but was said to be extremely powerful. If an ordinary Marine Vice Admiral faced such an exaggerated attack, he would probably not be able to block it. You leave first. I will follow you with the life card. Ai Air's eyes were blazing. He stared at the impressive figure in front of him. He tightly grasped the sword in his hand, showing his high fighting spirit and a blazing fire behind his head. Lord Ai Air, isn't this too risky? Longbread hurriedly reminded. After all, the opponent is an Admiral candidate with the name of Monster in the Marine, not an ordinary Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. It is precisely because he is an Admiral candidate that he is worth fighting. Ai Air sneered, seeing that Longbread and Gerd and others wanted to say something. He waved his hand directly. Don't worry, I'm not hot-headed. I'm not naive enough to think that I can directly defeat such a guy now. I just want to verify how far I am from such a monster. And if I want to leave, even he, the Admiral candidate, can't stop me. The most important thing is, isn't it more interesting to PS off the enemy before leaving? Okay, then you have to be careful. Ai Air. After spending these days together, Gerd naturally knows Ai Air's character. Once a decision is made, it is impossible to change it. Then Ai Air, you have to be careful. Linlin said loudly. Although she is young and innocent, she is not a fool. Naturally, she can see that the enemy is very strong. Well, don't worry. With a flap of wings, Ai Air's figure soared into the sky, leaving the Demon King Lu Cypher. Turning into a residual image, it rushed towards the fleet in the distance at an astonishing speed. Yumabozu, take them and bypass the sea where those warships are located. Ai Air's voice echoed in this sea area. Yes, Lord Ai Air. The Sea Homais receive the order and immediately turn around. The exaggerated huge waves push the ship to another direction. Roar, a beast roar. In the eyes of the Longbread that shrank sharply, a huge feathered serpent, hundreds of meters long, appeared in the sky. Faintly, clouds from all directions seemed to be gathering one after another at an incredible speed. The whole sky began to gradually darken. Woohoo! The huge feathered serpent, soaring above the sky, majestic, the cold snake eyes looked down at the fleet in front and the sturdy figure in the lead. One blue and one black. Two pairs of wings suddenly flapped. Kong Kong, take this gift. Storm dance. Woohoo! Swish swish. Accompanied by a fierce hurricane. One after another, amazing wind blades directly cut through the atmosphere and shot towards the fleet in front. Chapter 35. Mythical Beast Species. Giant Ape Form? Fourth update. Beep beep dash. What? What kind of monster is that? Enemy attack. All personnel enter the first level alert state. The sharp alarm sounded constantly on the sea. On each warship, A large number of Marines armed with live ammunition were ready for battle. But looking at the huge wind blades that were swift and cutting one after another, they all changed color in horror. Damn, that BD kid. He stepped on the ground. The whole body size increased dramatically. At a speed visible to the naked eye, he turned into a human beast shape of 5 or 6 meters tall. Kong, who was covered with thick silver animal hair and had a face like a gorilla, had a somewhat hideous and terrifying face. Relying on moonwalk, he rushed up in the air. "Are you trying to show me your power?" Tempest kicked. All of a sudden, the whole body was flashing with strands of electric light. His thick feet turned directly into an afterimage. Continuously, he kicked out violently. Swish, swish. In the blink of an eye, one after another, huge light green slashes broke through the air, and the continuous and violent wind blades continuously collided with each other. Boom, boom. The loud noise continued. The amazing hurricane was raging there, but Ai Air's wind blades were all blocked. Little ghost, are you a little too arrogant? The powerful Kong, the tall figure landed on the warship with a terrifying power. The deck of this large battleship wailed gaga. The admiral candidate had a stern look, locked on the Quetzalcoatl in the sky in the distance, revealing a murderous intent. "Do you think Lousy can't do anything to you if you hide far away?" Before he finished speaking, he suddenly opened his mouth. It showed its ferocious fangs and roared. Fiery lightning howl. Hiss, hiss, chirp. The amazing lightning flashed continuously. A fierce beam of lightning carried unparalleled power. It blasted straight out. Hot breath. But at the same time, the huge Quetzalcoatl, not showing any weakness, also opened its bloody mouth in the sky. Swish! A ball of blazing fire kept gathering. The terrifying high temperature directly distorted the atmosphere. Facing the fierce lightning, it penetrated through. Boom, boom, thunder and fire collided. The dazzling light and rays were dazzling. It made people unable to look directly. Woo-hoo-hoo. Voila. Exaggerated wind and waves, layers of ripples. It kept raging, making it impossible to open your eyes. One warship after another was shaking in the huge wind and waves. That monster is so powerful. Is he really a child under 10 years old? Gurgle. Vice Admiral Kong's attack was blocked. The Marines were shocked, and some could not believe it. As Kong's subordinates, they knew how powerful this rising star among Marines who had risen rapidly in recent years and surpassed countless veteran vice admirals was. In the past, when they met those pirates, they only needed to blast a fiery lightning howl from a distance to easily blow the opponent's pirate ship into ashes. Unexpectedly, this survivor of the Lunaria tribe was able to block it so easily. This Ai Air's attack was blocked. That Kong, is he also a power user? In the distance, under the push of the Sea Lord, it rushed towards the distant Demon King, Loose Cipher, at an astonishing speed. Looking at the brief air battle between Ai Air and Kong, Linlin, Gerd, Wielding, and Longbread all felt a little scalp numb and shocked. Yes, it is rumored that Kong is a power user of the ape monkey fruit, mythical beast King Kong, giant ape form. Longbread, who was nervously observing the battle situation through a monocular telescope, said the information he knew. "I heard that he is not only extremely powerful, but also has an indestructible body and amazing defense. It seems that the news circulating outside is true. That guy is indeed a Zoan mythical beast power user. King Kong giant ape? Huh, mythical beast. Same as Ai, Air, and Linlin." The three were stunned and a little surprised. Aren't mythical beasts rarer than Logia? How come we ran into another Zoan mythical beast user just after leaving Erbafu? They haven't seen a Logia user yet. Fire, storm, thunder. What a comprehensive ability. On the battleship in the distance, Kong's face was solemn. His eyes were fixed on the huge monster in the sky ahead, which was terrifying and could not be underestimated. Although his ability of the mythical beast type, the giant ape form, can transform into a giant ape of the size of the giants with an indestructible body, the elemental power he controls is only thunder. Woohoo! Boom, boom. The entire sea area, unknowingly, it has become dark. In the sky, dark clouds are densely covered. Lightning and thunder are flashing. Moreover, heavy rain is falling. Is it also a Zoan mythical beast user? The huge Quetzalcoatl flapped its wings and took off, rushed into the dark clouds. It seems that you can control lightning. Then you will block it for me next time. Thunderbolt. A loud roar echoed. In the endless dark clouds, amazing lightning flashed. Thunderbolt, thunderbolt. One after another, terrifying lightning flashed down from the dark clouds. With the speed of thunder, all of them bombarded the fleets below. Kong and countless Marines were shocked. Little devil of the Lunaria tribe, how dare you? Kong was extremely angry. In the human beast form, he was full of electric light. With a fierce momentum, he stepped on the atmosphere and rushed into the sky. Hiss, hiss, hiss. From all directions, one after another lightning. He was attracted by his terrifying momentum. It struck him directly and submerged him. But Kong was intertwined with blazing lightning. Obviously, he has developed his own fruit ability to a very amazing degree. Relying on the amazing defense of his indestructible body and his ability to control thunder, he has reduced the power of lightning to the greatest extent. Those lightnings that keep coming. For him, it is completely painless. Boom, boom. However, the formation of the entire fleet is extremely wide. Even if he can control the elemental power of lightning to a certain extent, he can attract the lightning around like a lightning rod. But he can't attract all the lightning in the entire sea area. He can only watch as countless lightnings hit those warships one after another. Marines screamed, even if they were not hit directly. They were also burned black by electricity one after another and fell there. The amazing electric current flowing along the wet rain has become a nightmare for these Marines. Some warships had their masts chopped off, and some were hit by ammunition, causing violent explosions and blazing flames. Moreover, a large amount of lightning continued to strike down. It was a complete disaster. Chapter 36. Fierce Confrontation. Conqueror's Collision Assholes. Looking at the blink of an eye, 2 or 3 warships have been destroyed by thunder and set on fire. Many Marines were constantly screaming from being electrocuted. One after another fell there, and it was unknown whether they were alive or dead. Bah! Kong was furious. He was murderous, stepping on Moonwalk and rushing up. Tempest kick Lonlong. The powerful observation Haki locked on the huge figure in the clouds. The right foot crushed the atmosphere like a knife and axe and chopped out fiercely. Swish! A huge light green slash blasted out. Moreover, at a speed visible to the naked eye, it turned into a lifelike dragon-shaped slash. Roaring and cutting through the dark clouds, it killed the huge and majestic Quetzalcoatl like lightning. Roar! Quetzalcoatl roared. It was extremely ferocious. In the shocked eyes of everyone, without dodging or evading, he flapped his wings and rushed forward. The huge snake head crashed down without showing any weakness. It collided fiercely with a powerful slash. Bang! The next moment, Quetzalcoatl was knocked back, but at the same time, the fierce dragon-shaped slash was directly knocked away. It slashed straight into the distant sea. Boom, boom, left a shocking, huge trench. It couldn't close for a long time. It was shocking. Is this monster really invulnerable to swords and guns as rumored? Kong's pupils shrank sharply, and he was somewhat shocked. He was angry when he attacked, and he didn't hold back at all. The 6 styles Tempest Kick secret that he had already honed to perfection, combined with the power of armament Haki, was enough to easily cut a mountain. Even his ability in the form of the mythical beast, Giant Ape. Although he was said to have an indestructible body, there were limits. If he transformed into a giant ape like this, and if he didn't use Haki to defend, this attack would definitely leave him with injuries. But such an attack, in addition to knocking the opponent back, it was completely unable to shake this Lunarian kid. Not even a trace of injury was left. It was incredible. Swish! The next moment, the heavy rain disappeared. In the sky, the huge figure shrank. Ai Air's entire body turned into a 6-meter-tall human beast form. green face and fangs covered with green scales and feathers, limbs turned into cold claws, dragging a snake tail covered with scales. Behind him, as a Lunarian, he had a pair of green wings in his normal human form. Ai Erbafu spear, without any hesitation. He looked sternly at Kong Kong, who was maintaining his human beast form and stepping on the air. Swinging the sword at an angle, he slashed out fiercely. Weigua! Swish! The fierce cylindrical sword pressure. It tore through the air and pierced through. It crushed the horrified Kong fiercely. King Kong clash. Kong, who looked like an ape and was equally ferocious, stepped on Moonwalk and roared there. His huge right fist was wrapped with high-level armament Haki. It blasted straight up. Boom, boom. It was like a comet hitting the earth. The explosion ring visible to the naked eye appeared in the sky. The blazing white light was so dazzling that it was impossible to look directly at it. Woo-hoo-hoo, woo-hoo-hoo. The amazing air waves swept like ripples, raging. The sea below was surging and churning. The warships were shaking and almost overturned. The Marines above screamed in panic and fell with blood on their heads. Some people were unable to stand steadily and were almost blown away by the wind and waves. Swish, swish. Then, Ai Air's eyes were stern, and the four wings suddenly fluttered. Swish, swish. One after another, amazing wind blades. It tore open the atmosphere and attacked violently. Tempest kick Lon Lon, although he could have avoided it directly with the prediction of observation Haki. Kong had to attack again to stop the wind blades. Otherwise, if they rushed down, they would tear the warships apart directly. No one could stop it. Boom, boom. A series of light green slashes. It kept colliding with the extremely fast wind blades. But in the blink of an eye, Ai Air's green figure rushed over like lightning. The sword was wrapped with armament Haki, and it was surrounded by blazing lightning and flames, distorting the atmosphere. He slashed at the opponent fiercely. Kong! Sparks splashed. Kong Kong was murderous. It was wrapped with the high-level dark armament Haki, intertwined with dazzling lightning. He punched there and blocked the incoming flaming sword. What? But the rolling heat wave hit him, causing his whole body to change color instantly. I felt as if a huge mountain weighing 1,000 kilos was falling down in an instant, and my right arm suddenly sank. Even though he claimed to be a mythical bee species, the King Kong giant ape, and had been training hard for many years, he could be said to be extremely powerful and could easily crush those giant warriors. He was not able to gain the upper hand in his most proud strength. On the contrary, because the opponent was in a high position and chopped with great force, he was almost blasted directly into the sea below. He couldn't help stepping on the air to remove the exaggerated force. Steady his body. Crack, crack. The two looked at each other, murderous. One after another, black and red lightning intertwined, like a dragon and snake dancing, spreading in all directions. The two faintly visible momentums were hemispherical. They kept colliding there. Neither gave in. That's Conqueror's collision. Does that kid have Conqueror's Haki? On the warship below, one Marine after another foamed at the mouth and lost consciousness, falling to the deck with a thump-thump. Some Marine officers who were still conscious were horrified and looked at the sky in disbelief. The two powerful collisions of silver and blue, with terrifying momentum. They were shocked. Not only armament Haki and observation Haki, but even the innate Conqueror's Haki, are they so proficient in the sky, stayed in the air. Kong, who was confronting and deadlocked with Ai Air, was full of fear. Is this really a kid under 10 years old? He is so young that he can already use Conqueror's Haki proficiently, and his power is so exaggerated that even he, who is always very proud of his own power, can't gain the upper hand in this. It's incredible. Chapter 37, Ignore the Damage and Return Life. Clang, clang. In a flash of lightning. The sound of metal clashing was deafening. Two figures with amazing momentum kept fighting in the sky. Relying on the advantage of air combat, Ai Air once again wielded the sword surrounded by lightning and fire, overwhelmed the atmosphere, and mercilessly chopped at the admiral candidate. Weigwa! The sound of breaking through the air continued. The fierce, cylindrical sword energy shock wave, coming like lightning. Unstoppable. It's just the fighting skills of the giants. Don't be so arrogant, kid. Kong Kong was murderous. He punched mercilessly, extremely powerful. Advanced armament Haki flowed on the fist print. He charged and blasted out a blow, fiercely killing the opponent. You are still far away. King Kong Chariot. The terrifying fist shook the atmosphere. Carrying the powerful armament Haki, it collided violently with the sword energy shock wave that came violently. Boom, boom. The loud noise shook the sky, and the white light was dazzling. The amazing confrontation was there. But the next moment, Ai Er's invincible and powerful country that could tear everything apart was actually suppressed and defeated. An unimaginable shock wave came over. It submerged Ai Er's entire body. Boom! Boom! He was blown away. But the terrible power that was enough to instantly, severely injure or even kill the giants. It was completely unable to pose a real threat to him. Woohoo! The flames were rising behind his head. In an instant, 2 pairs of wings fluttered together. The whole person was like nothing happened. He rushed up again. This guy, is this the racial ability of the Lunaria tribe? Kong Kong's pupils shrank sharply. Is it noticed that behind Ai Er's head, a ball of fierce flames was burning constantly? As the vice admiral of the naval headquarters, he was still highly expected by the above and was one of the candidates for admiral who was almost certain to be set in stone. He naturally knew that the Lunaria tribe had the racial innate ability to ignore damage and survive in any harsh environment. But what if you can ignore damage? There was relevant information shared within the Marine. Kong was very clear about the weakness of the Lunaria tribe's innate ability. Once the flames on the back of the head were extinguished, it meant that the fallen angel Ai Er entered the attack state. During this period, the opponent's attack power will be greatly enhanced and the power will be doubled. But at the same time, its own defense will also be weakened. On the contrary, when the flames on the back of the head of this tribe continued to burn, it was in an absolute defense state and could ignore any damage. He didn't believe that the opponent could hold back and never prepare to attack with all his strength. As long as he was patient, he might not be able to find an opportunity. Severely injure this Lunaria kid. Shave moonwalk. Without thinking, he stepped on his feet and rushed out. He was covered with dense animal hair, and his extremely strong body was like lightning. He was about to take the initiative to kill Ai Er. The storm is raging. However, Ai Er sneered, completely predicted his thoughts. Woo! Swish, swish. The 4 wings flapped, and the hurricanes swept. One after another, extremely sharp wind blades tore through the atmosphere. Densely packed, one after another, violent attacks came. King Kong. Kong was intertwined with lightning. The huge elbow, accumulating strength, wrapped around Haki and blasted out. Impact. Boom, boom. A powerful blow. It released an amazing shock wave directly. It broke the wind blades that kept coming. It was shocking. Life returned paper arts whooshan. Kong Kong's eyes were cold. He clenched his fists, tightened his muscles, and shouted. Swish! In an instant, his exaggerated body and strong muscles shrank. In a human beast form, his 5-meter-tall body shrank to more than 4 meters, and the bulging muscles were still exaggerated. But compared to before, they were much stronger. Huh. Life returned. Ai Er's eyes were stern. I didn't expect Kong Kong to master life return. However, judging from the other party's attainments in the 6 styles, it was obviously not a particularly shocking thing. Sacrifice strength in exchange for speed. He rushed down, holding the big sword in his hand. The lightning was intertwined. The sword tip was burning with blazing flames, carrying a terrible high temperature. He chopped it down fiercely. Unfortunately, it's still not fast enough. He had to admit it. Life Return Paper Arts Wushin is indeed very good, especially when a monster like Kong, who already has the strength of an admiral, uses it. He sacrifices part of the power of the fruit ability to increase the speed, which must be quite amazing. But as a member of the Lunaria clan, he has been training hard for many years. and his flying speed is quite fast. Then the speed under the addition of the mythical beast species Quetzalcoatl form is even faster than ultimate. How can the opponent catch up directly by using life return? Shave. He stepped on the air. In the human beast form, Kong, who was extremely strong, was like lightning, more than twice as fast as before. Like a ghost, he dodged the attack. In an instant, he rushed directly behind Ai Erbafu. His right fist was intertwined with lightning and entangled with Haki. He blasted straight up. Bang! Ai Erbafu was well prepared. He turned around at the first time. With a fierce look in his eyes, he gave up his defense. He was hit in the abdomen by that fierce punch. He flew out like a cannonball. Kong! But at the same time, the great sword wrapped in armed color, intertwined with thunder and fire, burning the atmosphere and twisting it. It also slashed at Kong fiercely, but only brought up a spark. Your power is very strong, but Haki is too weak. It's simply not worth mentioning. Kong's body shook. He was shocked backwards by the powerful force. He glanced at the chest whose fur was burnt black, but in fact it was not a big deal. The swift figure, stepping on the atmosphere, chased relentlessly. Woo! One blue and one black, two pairs of huge wings vibrated. It rolled up a fierce wind pressure and removed the power. Hey, your Haki is very strong, but the power is too weak. Ai Erbafu stabilized his body, with flames behind his head. Except for being a little embarrassed, he was completely calm and fought back without hesitation. It's not worth mentioning. Swish! Before he finished speaking, he swung the long sword in his hand diagonally. The powerful observation, Haki, firmly locked onto the attacking Kong. He swung it out brazenly. Wagwa, King Kong Chariot. Boom! Boom! Chapter 38. Feeling frustrated, Kong leaves clang, clang. His chirp above the turbulent sea. The fire was dazzling, the lightning was gleaming, and the sound of breaking through the air was roaring. In the sky, Ai Erbafu was as fast as lightning, and he kept fighting with Kong. Every time Kong was about to gain the upper hand and tried to counterattack strongly and take the initiative. Relying on the special observation Haki that he was born with, Ai Erbafu accurately predicted the opponent's attack and immediately fluttered all four wings. With his own speed that was almost ultimate under the blessing of the fruit ability, the swift figure retreated like lightning. In the first time, he opened the distance. Crackle, swish, swish. In the blink of an eye, there was a sky full of fire or endless wind blades pouring down crazily, forcing Kong, who was extremely confident in his own strength and thought he could completely crush the opponent, to give up the attack and block the incoming attack. I just felt very frustrated. Is this guy really immortal? He was a little daunted. Several times, although this Lunaria kid reacted incredibly fast. But with his own strong strength, he, the Admiral candidate, was still caught by the gaps and flaws that flashed by. He swung his fists that were more exaggerated than steel, carrying the terrible armament Haki like a storm, and continuously bombarded the opponent. It was incredible that he couldn't hurt the opponent at all. It stands to reason that the defense ability of the Lunaria tribe also has its limits. However, this little monster who is less than 10 years old is an exception. It's like he really has an immortal body, and the opponent is too slippery. Every time he was about to launch a counterattack, immediately enter the nearly invincible defense state. Even sometimes, his whole body would burn with raging flames, interfering with his judgment. It made it impossible for him to confirm whether the fallen angel Ai Erbafu had entered the defense state. Sometimes he would deliberately mislead me, trying to consume his physical strength. It's useless, you can't hurt me at all. Ai Erbafu looked down at the other party and spoke lightly. It must be said that Kong is indeed very strong and has rich combat experience to be able to become an admiral candidate. Even though he sometimes claims to be extremely vigilant and observation Haki can predict the enemy's moves, he was still caught by the opponent. That is him. If it were someone else, I'm afraid he would have been seriously injured or even killed. But as a natural monster, he is born with a strong defense like a steel balloon, which is invulnerable to swords and guns. He is also a user of the mythical beast species Quetzalcoatl form. and his scales have strong protective power. He also has the racial innate ability of the Lunaria clan to ignore damage. The three, combined together, can be said to have produced a qualitative change from quantitative change, and the effect is far greater than 1 + 1 + 1. Ai Air is like having an immortal body. It makes people shudder and their scalp tingle. No matter how hard Kong attacked, he still couldn't really threaten Ai Air. Every time he was blown away by the force that was enough to make the strong men on the sea change color and dare not resist. Soon the whole person stabilized his body again and ran up like nothing happened. But in the same way, Ai Air also launched fierce counterattacks several times. The sword blade, wrapped with Haki, kept slashing at the opponent, or directly released a powerful wind blade, slashing at Kong, who couldn't dodge in time or didn't want to dodge at all. But in the end, he couldn't really tear the opponent's indestructible body defense. Even if he extinguished the fire behind his head, abandoned the invincible defense, and attacked with all his strength, releasing the wind blade that could easily cut through steel and tear apart the mountain, it only left a light blood mark on his body. It was Kong who wanted to seriously injure him and rushed up without hesitation. With the powerful recovery ability of its own mythical beast type, the King Kong giant ape form. This level of damage can't pose much threat to Kong, the Admiral candidate. Even if it releases the more powerful Ai Erbafu gun, it'll be dodged or blocked by the opponent. Fire Dragon Roar. In the blink of an eye, the blazing flames burned. The terrible heat wave was extremely terrifying. A huge fire dragon distorted the atmosphere, carrying unimaginable high temperature, roaring and rushing up. King Kong Impact. Boom boom. The powerful armament Haki was released. The fierce fist print, surrounded by lightning, crushed the atmosphere, strongly blocked the attacking huge fire dragon, feeling the heat wave coming in the face. Kong looked directly at the Ai Air in front of him, who was surrounded by lightning and fire, and was aggressive, and was a little doubtful. You guy, can observation Haki already foresee the future? He felt a little incredible, but it was obvious that the opponent had completely predicted his attack. He must have a higher observation Haki than himself. Otherwise, he would not have been able to do this. However, he had a high-level observation Haki before he was 10 years old. What kind of monster is this? As expected of an Admiral candidate, I can't do anything to you. Seeing this, Ai Air was not surprised. With the innate advantage of air combat, the opponent could not gain the upper hand, let alone hurt him. But at the same time, his current limited armament Haki and the fruit ability that needs to be further developed are also difficult to effectively threaten Kong, who has an indestructible body. Although as a member of the Lunaria clan, he can control powerful flames, adding the power of the flame element given by the mythical beast Quetzalcoatl form. The temperature of the released flame is amazing. It can easily burn steel and melt them into molten iron, and can even directly burn the earth to melt, which theoretically can indeed threaten Kong. But the other party is not a fool. Either he directly resists with a strong attack, or he dodges easily with his swift speed. The difference in strength between the two is there. In a short period of time, it is obvious that no one could do anything to the other. You are indeed very strong, but your subordinates may not be so strong. The next moment, Ai Air's figure is extremely fast, carrying endless flames all over his body. Instantly rushed to the battleship below. You dare. Kong was extremely angry. There was no way to guess the other party's plan. He stepped hard, rushed out, chased down, and tried to stop him. But how could he catch up with Ai Air, who already had the upper hand in speed? What am I afraid of? Ai Air's eyes were cold, and he sneered there, easily dodged the incoming shells, and turned into a ball of extremely fierce fire. It was like a human-shaped sun, hotter than magma, dazzling, and no one was allowed to enter. Boom! Boom! In Kong's eyes, carrying an unimaginable heat wave, he dived directly down. He crashed through the thick hull from the side. He passed through. Crackle! The huge battleship. Instantly, a fierce flame ignited, which could not be stopped at all. Before it could be extinguished, it had already spread. Kukulkan Ai Air. Kong roared. His legs were like lightning, kicking out continuously. One after another, light green slashes tore through the atmosphere crazily and intensively bombarded Ai Air. But the fierce attack, Ai Air easily dodged it. Moreover, he did the same. He rushed to other warships with dazzling flames again. He couldn't do anything to Kong, a monster whose strength was no less than that of Marine Admiral. He couldn't do anything to the Marines under the other side. He would not show mercy to these guys. Kong's eyes were bloodshot. He opened his mouth wide, and the amazing lightning gathered there. Observation Haki locked Ai Air and blasted out. Fiery lightning howl. Hiss, hiss, and hiss. The sound of breaking through the air was whistling. The extremely blazing lightning penetrated the atmosphere fiercely. Blast and kill. However, Ai Air sneered. The four wings fluttered, suddenly turned sideways, and flashed past quickly. Boom, boom. The terrifying lightning beam went straight and hit the warship behind. A large amount of ammunition was detonated, and the whole warship exploded directly. Accompanied by screams. The flames shot up to the sky, and the heat waves rolled. Countless Marines screamed in panic. One by one, they were thrown out like pieces of paper. Damn kid, Lousy is going to kill you. This scene, let Kong roar. Stepping on the air, he rushed out at an astonishing speed and rushed towards Ai Air. Two figures chased each other in the air. In a blink of an eye, another warship was directly hit by Ai Air, who was carrying endless flames and looked like a human sun. It was pierced and ignited, simple and rough. Kong, who was following behind, was helpless. In the end, seeing that he could not do anything to the other party, he was very decisive. He made up his mind not to make any meaningless pursuit and stayed on one of the surviving large warships. Let Ai Air destroy and sink the rest of the warships one by one. Except for releasing fiery lightning howl to harass, he was completely indifferent. He guarded the warship under his feet strictly. Kong, is it? What a decisive and ruthless guy. Seeing that Kong was no longer fooled, there was no more meaningless probing or confrontation. Ai Air decisively flapped his wings and rushed into the distance. Next time we meet, maybe you'll be a Marine Admiral, right? But you should be fully prepared for the next moment. In your short and powerless Marine career, you will meet an enemy that scares you the most. A short and powerless Marine career? One arrogant guy being provoked so blatantly by the other party. Kong's eyelids twitched, and he was a little furious. But he couldn't chase him at all, and could only watch him leave. It's a pity that although he has trained Conqueror's Haki very skillfully, he has not yet mastered the power of Conqueror's entanglement. Otherwise, he might have found an opportunity just now to directly injure the fallen angel Ai Air. How could he let the other party leave so arrogantly? Chapter 39, Shocked Baguette. Martial Marine's Anxiety Splash. In the distant sea, the huge sea homies is turning into a surging wave. It is pushing the Demon King, Lu Cypher, forward. Woo! At this time, Ai Air, who has recovered his human form, flapped his wings from afar. Ai Air/Oni Ai-chan, are you okay? Ai Air boss/sir. Seeing Ai Air return safely. Linlin, Gerd, Longbread, and others who were a little worried. All of them couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief and put their minds at ease. I'm fine, don't worry. Ai Air waved his hand, looked back at the sea where he had fought before, and sighed. As expected of an admiral candidate, he is really strong. Although he has the blood of both the Lunaria tribe and the giant tribe, he is a natural monster. He is extremely powerful and has an invulnerable defense like a steel balloon. He is also a capable person in the form of the mythical beast Quetzalcoatl. But after all, he has not really grown up yet. If it weren't for the Lunaria race's racial ability to ignore damage, it would be a suicidal act to rashly provoke a monster like Kong. However, he gained a lot from the short and fierce battle with Kong. Not only did he hone himself, but he also gained a lot of combat experience. The armament Haki that he had barely mastered has also improved a lot. I was able to escape from an admiral candidate like Kong. Soon, A glass of freshly squeezed juice was served. Looking at Ai Erbafu, who was unharmed except for a little embarrassment, Longbread was a little excited. Lord Ai Erbafu, you are so amazing. It's worthy of being a monster with a bounty of 600 million berries at the age of 9. At this moment, Longbread became more determined in his choice. Only such a person with unlimited potential is worthy of his following. SOSO. Ai Erbafu took the juice. Sitting down at the bow, he chuckled and said, "But it's not a waste of effort. At least the fleet led by that guy was destroyed." It must be said that the flagships of these marine bigwigs are indeed very unique in style. The flagship he burned, the ram sculpture on the bow, was actually a gorilla with arms raised and muscles showing. Who did want to show off his strength to? He deserved a beating at first glance. What did you say? And at this moment, far in the front half of the Grand Line, the Naval Headquarters building, Naval Headquarters Marshal William stood up in shock, grabbed the microphone, and lost his voice in disbelief. Even you, the Admiral candidate, can't do anything to that Lunaria kid? Kong, are you kidding me? Kong is the young generation he values most. Not only is he a capable person in the form of the mythical beast, King Kong Giant Ape, he also has the qualifications of conquerors and has excellent leadership skills. Whether it is taijutsu or conqueror's haki, they have been honed to perfection and are fully capable of serving as the Admiral of Headquarters. In particular, Kong's political awareness has been shown, and even several bigwigs in the Holy Land Mariehua admire him. In fact, as long as Admiral Ross, who is already 68 years old and in poor health, officially retires to the second line in the Naval Headquarters, he, the Marine Marshal, will immediately issue a new appointment. Push him to the throne of Marine Admiral. A Lunaria kid who is less than 10 years old. Even if he is a natural monster, he is also a Zoan. It is not possible that Kong, a strong man with overwhelming power, is helpless against him, right? I'm not kidding. Marshal William, far in the second half of New World, in a certain sea area, standing on the only surviving warship under his full protection. Kong, the Admiral candidate, had a solemn face, holding the din mushy microphone fixed on the mast, and said in a deep voice, "The strength of the fallen angel Ai Erbafu is far stronger than that of an ordinary vice admiral. Of course, although his potential is amazing, in terms of hard power, he has not grown up yet and is definitely far inferior to me. But his racial ability and the ability of the mythical bee species Quetzalcoatl form give him an amazing flying speed and extremely strong air combat ability." Speaking of this, Kong was a little helpless, gritting his teeth, and said, "Moreover, as a natural monster, he is like an immortal. Even if I attack with all my strength, I still can't really hurt him. This leads to the fact that neither me nor he can do anything to each other." He was full of self-blame. Adjusting his attitude, he actively admitted his mistakes to his boss. "I'm very sorry. My fruit ability is not very good at air combat, and I can't keep that kid. I can only watch him destroy most of the fleet and leave. Even you can't keep him with all your strength." Marshal Hammond's William frowned. His face was a little gloomy, and he showed unspeakable fear. "Then, I'm afraid it won't be so easy to kill this threat next time. On this sea, although there are many types of devil fruit, they are countless. But generally speaking, flying devil fruit abilities are extremely rare. Even among the 3 admirals of Marine, except for Admiral Ross, who is a pure physical warrior, there is no one who can really fly. Kong, the Admiral candidate, has already mastered the moonwalk among the 6 styles and can be said to be very skilled. The so-called lack of aerial combat skills is naturally just a modest or face-saving excuse. 2 years ago, a powerful dragon, fruit ancient species, pterosaur form ability user with a bounty of 300 million Baileys could not escape from him. Even he could not do anything to the fallen angel Ai Erbafu and could only watch other warships being destroyed by him, which shows how exaggerated the opponent's speed is. Even if an ordinary headquarters vice admiral has the ability to fly, let alone whether he can catch up with the fallen angel Ai Erbafu. Even if he can really catch up, he is probably not his opponent and can only die in vain. Forget it, let's not talk about it for now. Hammond's William paced back and forth and said directly, Kong, you first command the rescue of the survivors who fell into the water, collect the bodies of the sacrificed Marines, and return to the G-11 fortress. Remember to write a detailed report later. Next, I will ask CP to search for the whereabouts of the fallen angel Ai Erbafu with all their strength, and then find a way to get rid of him as soon as possible. This Lunaria kid is too threatening, and he must not be given time to grow. Even Kong, who is an admiral candidate, couldn't keep him. He could only watch him go away after destroying most of the Marine fleet. The potential shown by this fallen angel Ai Erbafu is too terrifying. It is so great that even he, the Marine Marshal, is a little uneasy. Yes, dash, click. Hang up the din mushy. Looking at the direction where the fallen angel Ai Erbafu disappeared. Kong's face was uncertain, and he clenched his fists tightly. He made up his mind secretly. Damn it, it seems that I have to master the power of Conqueror's entanglement quickly. Otherwise, I'm afraid I really can't do anything to that Lunaria kid. Even if he is as proud as he is, he has to admit that the other party's potential is too frightening. He has such strength at the age of 9. If the fallen angel Ai Erbafu is given a few more years, I am afraid that by then, even if he really becomes the admiral of the naval headquarters and hone his own strength to a higher level, he still can't do anything to the other party. That murderous guy doesn't seem to be a quiet one. He believes that sooner or later they will face each other again. Maybe some headaches. Chapter 40. Many fruit and ancient species. Pseudotooth bird form. That afternoon, following the guidance of the life card of Longbread, accelerated by the huge waves of Homais, the Demon King Lucifer soon arrived in front of an uninhabited island and docked there. Lord Ai Erbafu, this is Barbaric Island. Longbread pointed to the deserted island. He shouted to Ai Erbafu, who was training there with Linlin, Gerd, and Helding. Are we finally here? Ai Erbafu raised his eyebrows. He took the towel from a thundercloud, Zeus, floating on the side, and wiped the sweat off his face, looking at the island ahead. Then prepare to land. What exactly are the treasures of Carmelo? Gerd, who was sweating profusely, let out a long sigh. He took the towel sent by thundercloud Zeus, pinched the cheek of son Prometheus, and was full of expectations. It's really exciting. Will there be anything delicious? Linlin, who was also sweating profusely. He threw the big knife aside and looked at the island ahead with shining eyes. Excited, she instantly revived with full health and jumped onto the back of Thundercloud Hera. She couldn't wait to command it and rushed to the shore. Let's go ashore, Hera. Hurry up, everyone. Oh, of course it's impossible, Linlin. Seeing this, Helding couldn't help but sneered and said, except for devil fruit, they're only cold treasures, right? Needless to say, the taste of devil fruit. As for other food, how can it be stored for too long? Carmelo is not a fool, so it is naturally impossible to store food in it. Linlin, Helding is right. Don't hold your hope. There are no snacks in it. Looking at Linlin's performance, Ai Erbafu shook his head and laughed. For a 5-year-old girl, obviously nothing is more important than sweet snacks. Huh? Really? Hearing Ai Erbafu say this, Linlin was dumbfounded and a little disappointed. Haha, Lord Linlin, when we find the treasure, I will make you a big cake. The long bread patted his chest and said with a smile, really? Thank you so much. Linlin's eyes lit up. She grinned and was very happy. The group talked and laughed and soon landed on the shore. With the sea homies guarding the ship, they were not worried at all. With the memory of Carmelo, Ai Erbafu naturally did not need to slowly search for treasures and solve puzzles like getting a treasure map. Soon they came to an ordinary low mountain. Just approached. Sensing the fluctuation of soul power, Gerd exclaimed in surprise. Is it homies? Mountain, boom. Without any signs. In all directions, several low mountains seemed to come alive directly. Revealing anthropomorphic demon faces, they surrounded them directly. They were about to crush several people into meat sauce. How dare you? There was no need for Ai Erbafu and others to take action. Gerd's eyes were stern, releasing a powerful soul deterrence. The dwarfs were stunned instantly, and they were sweating profusely. They dare not move. What's going on? This deterrent force. Is it Mother's ability? They were shocked. They looked at Gerd in horror. Some couldn't believe that the other party had the ability of Sister Carmelo. These homies were created by Carmelo when she was alive, and they were guarded here. Ai Er's face was calm. Not surprised at all. He had already known about the existence of these homies. However, he also confirmed one thing. That is, after the death of the soul fruit ability user, these homies created with their own or others' souls will not die directly. Otherwise, these homies would not have survived until now. Listen to me. Sister Carmela is dead. Hand over the treasure hidden here. Gerd looked at these mountain homies, bared his teeth, and threatened fiercely. Otherwise, I will directly suck out your souls. Ah, what? The nun is dead? The mountain homies were horrified, but facing Gerd's outstretched right hand, they were like mice seeing a cat. They immediately surrendered obediently. Don't do it. The treasure is here. The nun is dead, so we naturally don't have to guard her treasure anymore. Boom, boom. Soon, the largest mountain moved forward. On the anthropomorphic face, it opened its mouth and spit out, "My lord, the treasure is in my body. Cough, cough." Bang, bang, bang. All of a sudden, a dazzling array of gold and jewelry piled there as high as a hill. There are also several suitcases full of Baileys. All the money added up should be no less than 1 billion Baileys. In addition, there are 2 small treasure boxes. Wow, so many treasures. Everyone's eyes lit up. Even Gerd, Helding, and others were no exception. It was the first time to see so many treasures, so naturally they were a little excited. Ai Er was not surprised. She spent most of her life playing the Virgin Mary and cheating and engaging in the child trafficking industry. If there was not even this little savings, Carmelo would have quit long ago. Ai Er, is there a devil fruit in it? Linlin was not interested in these treasures. Curiously picked up the 2 treasure boxes and couldn't wait to open them. In the surprised eyes of Longbread, Helding, and Gerd. Sure enough, there were 2 devil fruits of different colors and strange looks lying quietly inside. Paramecia mini fruit, bird fruit, ancient species, pseudo-toothed bird form. There was a label on it, indicating the fruit ability. Yes, these were accidentally found by the children adopted by Carmelo in the past, and she tricked them and saved them. Ai Er already knew the abilities of these 2 devil fruits and chuckled and said, "It's a bargain for us." Bird fruit. Bread's eyes lit up. He said to Ai Er excitedly, "I didn't expect that there would be a flying zone ability, and it's a rare ancient species. It seems that we are very lucky." Ai Er. Don't look at Ai Er, Linlin, Gerd, and others. Each of them can fly directly or indirectly by ability. But in fact, flying abilities are very rare and can only be encountered by chance. Not to mention the very rare ancient zone ability. Not bad. Ai Er smiled and nodded. He didn't expect that he could get a flying ancient ability. The legendary pseudo-toothed bird is an ancient bird with amazing flying ability. It also has sharp teeth like shark teeth, which can tear prey apart alive. It is very ferocious. Mini fruit, pinching a small and exquisite fruit with strange patterns. Linlin blinked her big eyes, full of curiosity. What ability is this? It is the ability to shrink people. For example, if the giants eat it, they can become smaller than the dwarfs. Ai Er touched her head and explained with a smile. "Gosh, shrink," Helding laughed. "I didn't expect that there is such an ability in the sea." Such an ability is simply prepared for the giants. The long bread on the side couldn't help but exclaimed, "If you can shrink at will, it should be very interesting. Unfortunately, I am already a power user." Gerd likes the ability of the mini fruit. Of course, she is also very satisfied with the ability of her own soul fruit. Chapter 41, Ancient Giants? It just so happens that I got the mini fruit tailor-made for the giants. Playing with the Paramecia mini fruit, Gerd narrowed his crescent eyes and suggested to Ai Er, "Ai Er, how about we go back to Ai Erbafu to find a powerful giant as a companion?" "Okay, it's good. There seems to be no other suitable candidates in the giant village except the members of the giant pirates." Ai Er shrugged. To be honest, in the giant pirates, Except for the two leaders, Blue Ogre and Red Ogre, who have disappeared for a long time, the other members are really not in his eyes. Of course, when the fallen angel pirates grow stronger in the future and even directly conquer a piece of territory and establish a pirate country, it is possible to recruit giants as combat forces. But at the moment, he naturally does not want to use the ability of the mini fruit on those members of the giant pirates who are mediocre and have no great potential. Oh, that's right. If there is no suitable candidate in the village, you can go to the giant town to find one. Wielding grinned and laughed there. Speaking of giants, Longbread raised his hand and said to Ai Er, I do have a suggestion, Lord Ai Er. Have you seen ancient giants? Ai Er's eyes fixed, instantly saw what Longbread was thinking. He looked at him in surprise. He didn't expect that this guy had such a rich adventure experience. He had even seen the rare ancient giants. You can guess this? Longbread widened his eyes. He looked at Ai Er in disbelief. Immediately, he didn't dwell on these and nodded excitedly. A few years ago, I saw two humanoid monsters with horns that were even bigger than the giants on an island in New World. I was almost scared to the point of my legs going weak, and later I learned that they were the legendary ancient giants. What? Ancient giants? Gerd and Helding were shocked and speechless. As giants, they naturally had heard of the existence of ancient giants. It is said that the size is much larger than the giants, but it is said that the brains of the ancient giants are not very good, and they are very irritable and cruel. Ancient giants. Linlin tilted his head, full of confusion. Aren't Gerd, Wielding, and others giants? Ancient giants are a special race whose size is much larger than that of giants. They're several times larger than the giants we see on weekdays. Ai Er touched Linlin's head and explained with a smile. Longbread naturally didn't know. He didn't guess it at all, but directly read his mind. However, the special observation Haki that he was born with is one of Ai Er's secret trump cards. Not only can he predict the enemy's moves, but he can also identify loyalty and treachery, good and evil, and prevent people with bad intentions from mixing into his team. But he won't foolishly publicize it all over the world and easily expose his trump cards. Even if others guess it, he won't admit it directly. Bigger than the giants? Linlin was full of surprise. Although the ancient giants are powerful, I think it should not be a problem to subdue them with your strength. Lord Ai Er. Bread looked at Ai Er with a burning gaze and asked, Lord Ai Er, I have the life card of that island. Do you want to try it? Of course, Ai Er would not refuse. This is a pleasant surprise. If the ancient giants can be subdued, in the near future, his lofty goal of creating a country that gathers all races will really be realized. In addition, the ability of the Paramecium mini fruit is very special. Even if the size of the ability user is reduced, except for weight and height, the other values such as the ability user's strength, appetite, and attack power will not change. And in theory, the skin, muscles, organs, etc. will also be compressed to ultimate. With the huge size of the ancient giants, if they're reduced to the size of normal humans, or even smaller, if they can master the 6 styles and Haki proficiently, the combat power they will exert at that time will definitely be amazing. If things go wrong, there will be another monster under his command that is invulnerable, powerful, and amazing. No delay. Let Thundercloud Zeus grow bigger and take the treasures directly. The group quickly left Barbary Island and set sail again on the Demon King, Lucifer. Prepare to go to the island where Longbread once encountered the ancient giants. 2 days pass quickly. Ai Er's bounty has not changed. The news that the fleet led by Kong, the commander of the G11 branch, suffered heavy losses from the attack by the fallen angel Ai Er has not spread. Kuala in the unknown sea, the Demon King Lucifer continued to move forward with the huge waves created by the sea homies. Longbread, are you sure it's here? Looking at the boundless sea around him and the large sea kings that occasionally rushed out of the water, Wielding shouted, There are many sea kings here. Is at the edge of the calm belt. It's definitely not wrong, my lords. Looking at the yellowed life card in his hand, which has obviously been stored for a long time, Longbread shouted, It should be not far away. Lord Ai Er. we are here. Suddenly, the sharp-eyed Longbred, pointing to the looming island in front, he reminded loudly, "Are we there?" Linlin, Gerd, Wielding, and others. All of them couldn't help but brighten their eyes, full of expectations. They hadn't seen the real ancient giants yet. It's a footprint so big. Not long after, the Demon King Lu Cypher, driven by the Sea Master, soon arrived at the coast and saw several huge footprints from afar. Roar! Just then, a huge sea king suddenly emerged from the water. Its bloody mouth with sharp teeth was about to bite several people. On the bow, Ai Erbafu, who was about to land, looked stern. Clang! A cold light flashed. The sword at the waist swung out brazenly. Chi! The atmosphere was directly torn apart. A huge light blue slashing wave broke through the air. In an instant, it whizzed through the hundreds of meters long sea kings like lightning. Cut off the head of the sea kings alive. Voila! In an instant, the huge and ferocious head rolled down. The huge body crashed into the sea. A large area of seawater was splashed, and the gurgling blood soon dyed the sea red. Wow! So powerful. Linlin's eyes were full of stars, full of amazement. Ai Boss. You are getting more and more powerful. Even Gerd and Wielding couldn't help but admire. You can swing a flying slash at will. What a terrible talent. Looking at the tall figure with wings on his back and flames on the back of his head, he is not even 10 years old, but he can't be underestimated. Longbred also sighed sincerely. Lord Ai I think you will become the world's #1 swordsman in the near future. Okay, stop bragging there. You are still a long way to go to become the real world's #1 swordsman. Ai said with a smile. He still has self-knowledge. I am now just a miracle worker. At best, I can only be considered a swordsman with decent strength and the ability to make flying slashes. There is still a big gap between me and a real great swordsman, not to mention the world's greatest swordsman. Chapter 42, Descendants of the Demons, Little Oz Jr. Wow, such a big footprint. It's really bigger than an adult giant. Led by Ai the group landed on the coast and came to several big pits. The deep and shallow, somewhat exaggerated huge footprints made people dumbfounded. No, there are other human footprints here. Ai soon found something wrong, because there were many dense footprints, and there are quite a few people, but it should have been a long time ago. He frowned slightly. The observation Haki, which has been extremely powerful with daily training. It was released in an instant, covering the entire island, and soon a strong breath was sensed. The brows were slightly relaxed. This breath. It seems that the effort was not in vain. Has anyone been here? Linlin, Gerd, Wielding, and others were full of surprise. Even a Longbred was a little surprised. This place is close to the edge of the comm belt, which can be said to be quite remote. He had refused the recruitment of other pirates at first, and in order to avoid the pursuit of the other party, he deliberately took the risk to run here to avoid the limelight. It's a trace of battle. Ai led a few people forward. Soon they found artillery pits and bullet holes. They even found deformed projectiles and the remains of shells. Looking at these traces, it should be 2 or 3 years. If nothing unexpected happens, the world government may have discovered the ancient giants living here and sent Marine here. World government? Marine. Why does the world government want to capture the ancient giants? Hearing Ai's explanation, Linlin, Gerd, and others were full of surprise and confusion. Even the Longbred was a little stunned. Is the world government idle? Why did they send people to capture the ancient giants? The 2 ancient giants he met at the beginning lived here peacefully and did not run out to make trouble. They didn't look like pirates. I heard that the world government has been coveting the combat power of the giants and is secretly conducting experiments on human gigantism, trying to turn human soldiers into giants or even ancient giants. Ai was not surprised and said lightly, "So, they have been constantly capturing these rare, special races and using them as experimental subjects for secret research. Of course, our Lunaria tribe is among them." What? Those bastards of the world government. Too abominable. Hearing Ai say this, Several people couldn't help but shrink their pupils. And Gerd and Hailding, the two giants, they were all a little indignant and gnashed their teeth. Bang! Bang! At this moment, the earth shook. An amazing breath was constantly approaching. A huge green figure rushed out of the forest. Waving a thick bone stick, it slammed Ai Air and others fiercely. Despicable humans die. Bang! The huge bone stick was held down by Ai Air with one hand without changing his expression. What? Green face, fangs, and horns. The skin is green, no less than that of ordinary giants, about 10 meters tall, eyes widened. Looking at Ai Air in disbelief. I didn't expect this guy who is smaller than me and has wings. I was so strong that he easily blocked my attack. You know, even those ferocious sea kings. He can smash their heads with one stick. Bang! Ai Air grabbed the bone stick and swung it lightly. Instantly, the other party fell out in a mess. It crashed to the ground with a bang, raising a large amount of smoke and dust. Huh, this is a young ancient giant? Linlin, Gerd, and Longbread all looked at each other in surprise, because the humanoid monster with green skin and horns in front of them was far less huge than imagined. It was even smaller than some adult giant warriors. But the ferocious face looked very young. It was easy to recognize that the other party was just a child who had not grown up. Hey, it's not polite to start fighting right away without saying hello. Ai Air said lightly. He came in front of the other party, looking at the huge figure who was in a mess and fell to the ground. Can you tell me what happened here? Said his right hand directly reached out to the other person's head. He immediately checked his memory. It was the same as Ai Air guessed. This young, ancient giant was the future captain of the Whitebeard Pirates, Little Oz Jr. More than 400 years ago, he was a descendant of the demon Oz, who was known as the Fortune Bringer, and was a big villain who had caused trouble in North Blue and liked to move away the countries or islands he had taken fancy to. In Little Oz's memory, he had lived here with his parents since he was a child. About 2 or 3 years ago, suddenly a group of armed, well-dressed government agents and a large number of Marines came here on a warship. They tried to capture Little Oz's parents. After a fierce battle, the Marines used a large number of shells and a large dose of tranquilizer guns. But Little Oz's parents, who only knew how to use brute force and were not good at fighting, were outnumbered and fell down due to exhaustion. They were captured and taken away by the world government. Little Oz was arranged by his parents to hide in a cave. So he escaped. Descendants of the demon Oz? Ai Air retracted his right hand and said with a smile, "Don't get me wrong, we are not Marines, and we have no ill intentions, according to the consistent style of the world government and their persistent attitude towards human giantization experiments for hundreds of years. If nothing unexpected happens, the parents of Little Oz are likely to become experimental subjects. And in all likelihood, they are already in danger." Really, Little Oz widened his eyes, looking at the figures in front of him who were much smaller than himself, but much larger than ordinary humans. He is somewhat skeptical. Of course, Hailding and I are giants. Gerd stepped forward and said with his hands on his waist, "With you, an ancient giant, we can barely be considered compatriots. Is that so?" Hearing this, Little Oz subconsciously believed the other party. Sitting up straight, scratching his head, he said innocently, "Hello, my name is Little Oz. Sorry, I thought you were in the same group with those hateful Marines. My name is Kukulkan Ai Air, a descendant of the Lunaria tribe and the Giant tribe. Like you, my parents were killed by the world government and those Marines when I was young." Ai Air pointed at Linlin, Gerd, Hailding, and others, and said with a smile, "They are all my companions." Were you also persecuted by the Marines? Yes, we are the same people. Chapter 43. Ozza is joining. Many fruit damn world government. Those bastards, they are so bad. Ozza's parents didn't do anything, but they were captured by them. Soon, at Ozza's invitation, everyone came to the cave where he lived. The group gradually became familiar with each other and learned the reasons why Oz was alone on the island. Except for Ai Air, who had already known about it, Linlin, Gerd, and Hailding were full of indignation, gritting their teeth and hating the world government. Even Longbread, no matter what he thought in his heart. At least he showed anger on his face. World government is such a piece of shit, so that's how it is. I was wondering why it disappeared. Longbread suddenly realized. When he accidentally broke into here, he met Oz's parents. However, before the other party found him, he ran away in fear. Oz, leave with us. Looking at the lonely and pitiful little Oz, Gerd felt infinite sympathy and said loudly, "Instead of staying here alone, why not go on an adventure with us? We have many companions."
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.